thing was supposed to be.
I wasn't told anything.
And it's not going to be compatible with every form of anti-realism this time, maybe.
Again, I already answered that, so you're just an idiot if you don't understand it. That's up to you. So, but yeah, Godless Girl said something about Jack had arguments for idealism or against physicalism or something.
But I thought that you were taking up the topic that you took up with Godless. I thought this was about objective morality.
Oh no, I'm sorry. If I said that, there was miscommunication. No, he's supposed to debate him on physicalism.
Oh,
but I thought Detroyer wanted.
Well, I mean, you guys can debate
whatever you want. I thought Detroyer wanted to debate him on.
Detroyer's not here. He's with his mother. He said he asked me that he's with his mother. Mother's Day.
Yeah, like is the audience not like primarily interested in the metaethics thing?
That's fine if they want to do that. Jack, TJump is a moral objectivist.
And I swear his objectivism isn't compatible with every subjectivism or every anti-realism. It's definitely not the case that he's just making trivial descriptive statements about what maximizes preferences that literally everyone can agree with. That's definitely not the case.
Heavy sarcasm.
Just accept that you're all.
I mean, I can definitely tell you how to get it started. Like, TJump, why don't you like explain to us what it means for something to be wrong?
Again, that's the problem is that you're an idiot and you're asking for a definition and then complaining that you're getting a definition. So if you're asking what does it mean to be wrong, I'm going to give you a definition, and then you're going to argue that, well, you're just making a definition. Well, that's what you asked for because you're an idiot. Now, what you're trying to say is, why is my model not compatible with anti-realism? Because I think it refers to something that exists in the world, which isn't a definition. So the definition, if you keep asking for the definition, you're going to keep getting a definition, and you're not going to get an answer to the question you're trying to ask because you're an idiot. So,
what's the definition?
I define.
Oh my God, Canadian Catholic, you need to mute the room.
I define an immoral action as an involuntary imposition of will.
Huh?
Yo.
Back.
Oh my God, this is so funny.
Is Jack here?
Are we all muted yet? Or?
Jack, you there?
Am I muted?
No.
Alright, cool.
We hear you doing the opening the mic and then you don't say anything. We know you don't have audio problems, Jack. Why are you doing this? Ask yourself, if you just start talking and TJump, Jack won't be able to fucking resist when he starts saying stupid shit, so then he'll jump in. Just go ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess I can do it again. So, like, TJump, when you say involuntary imposition,
you're asking for a definition again. I'm going to give you another definition.
Well, I'm just wondering, when you say that, those are synonyms on your view?
Yeah, that's a definition.
Okay, so all you're saying is that
no, again, that's just the definition. You just keep saying the definition. That's not all I'm saying. I'm giving you the definition. You asked for a definition.
I thought they were synonyms. If there's
yes, they are synonyms.
TJump, if they're synonyms, there's not additional meaning.
You're an idiot.
Synonym is not compatible. You think that you can have two terms that are synonymous and one has additional meaning?
No, they don't have additional meaning. There's just more meaning to them than the meaning of the other word. That's what you're confusing.
Okay, TJump. So involuntary imposition of will is immoral. If those terms are synonyms, it's just the same as saying.
So again, idiot. Hold up, idiot. Hold up. So the word tree in English is a synonym to the word key in Japanese. But the word tree in English does not just mean key. It means something else. It is referring to a thing that is in the world. It doesn't just mean key. Key does not mean tree. Tree does not mean key. They mean something that exists in the world. So yes, immoral and involuntary imposition of will are synonyms, but they are referring to something. Like tree refers to something. Like, how do you not understand the difference? It's so simple. You have to be a complete idiot not to be able to grasp that.
How is that a definition?
It's not a definition. The definition is just the definition.
Well, wait a sec. Let's just try to be nice to TJump, because I think most people in here are probably not going to like what TJump has to say. So we'll try to be friendly. So when you say involuntary imposition of will is immoral, do those words have different meaning?
No, immoral is an involuntary imposition of will, and an involuntary imposition of will is immoral.
Now, your mic just kind of was weird for a second there. I think you started that sentence with a no, right?
That's correct. No, involuntary imposition of will is immoral, and if it's immoral, it is an involuntary imposition of will.
Okay, so if they just mean the same thing,
isn't that tautology?
Do you think? Can I?
That's how definitions work.
Just a second. Do you think that there's any kind of anti-realism that's going to be unable to say that an involuntary imposition of will is an involuntary imposition of will?
No, they can all say that, but again, that's not where the contradiction is between the two positions.
Yeah, if that's what your realism is, I guess I just don't understand how it's at odds with anti-realism.
Because you're an idiot. I mean, I've explained this to you multiple times. If that statement corresponds to something in reality, then it's not anti-real.
You think that an anti-realist can't say that the statement that an involuntary imposition of a will is an involuntary imposition of will corresponds to something in reality?
They're just going to say that you're renaming non-moral facts as moral facts, right? So that's the criticism that you have to deal with. You have to explain how you're not just renaming non-moral facts and calling them moral facts, right? Like you could say anything is anything. I can say things like, oh, my chair is a moral fact, right? Well, I think my chair exists, so now I'm a moral realist, right? So you have
Josh, can I ask you something?
What?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, actually. You finish, and then I'll ask you.
No, ask what you were going to ask.
Well, you understand, surely, that any brand of anti-realist can agree that involuntary impositions of will are involuntary impositions of will, right?
Yeah, they might say that. I mean, you might think it's the same point about my chair, right? Like, there might be a realist that thinks my chair exists, but they're just not talking about the same thing. It's just a semantic.
Yeah, and Josh, when you look at what he's actually saying, all he's telling us are that different things are involuntary impositions of will. When he says something's immoral, all he's saying is that thing involuntarily imposed on will. So when you hear him make a statement like, you know, raping is immoral, you think he's saying something that an error theorist would disagree with, right? An error theorist is going to say, oh, it's a moral proposition, it's false. But when you actually look at the meaning of the terms as defined by TJump, all he's saying is that raping someone is an involuntary imposition of will. And an error theorist can agree with that, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
But no, they cannot agree with that it actually corresponds to something in reality, because then that would no longer be anti-realism, it would be realism.
You're just making this is just a semantic discussion at this point.
No, he has his head up his ass, which is the semantic discussion. So that's all he talks about is the semantic discussion.
You're not talking about the same thing that moral realists are talking about. You're just changing the subject. Like me saying...
No, I am talking about the same thing moral realists are talking about, because many of them do think it's just an abstract and still real. It doesn't have to exist to be objective or real. It just has to be true.
I don't know what the fuck. Look, I'm just saying it's a semantic point.
No, you're fucking wrong. That's what I'm saying. Because no, it's not. Most philosophers are moral realists. They don't think it actually exists.
All of the nonsense that you said is completely irrelevant to the point I made. I'm saying that I could say that...
I don't care what you could say. That's irrelevant to the point.
Stop over talking me. What I could do is I could say that a moral realist, I could say that what a moral fact is my chair. And I believe that my chair exists, so therefore moral facts exist. And if that's true, a moral anti-realist can agree with that. They just would say that I'm changing the subject, and what I'm calling a moral fact isn't actually what they're referring to when they're referring to a moral fact. So that's all you're doing.
They're not agreeing. That's what not agreeing means. You're saying, no, I can agree with what you said and then disagree with what you meant by what you said. So that's a disagreement. That is not an agreement.
What?
If you take the exact words and change the meaning, then you're disagreeing with what is being said.
What? How the fuck? What are you talking about? That just seems like a...
Are you a fucking idiot? Like if I say up is or the sky is blue, and you say, oh no, I by the sky is blue, I think grass is green. Like then you're not talking about the same thing. What the hell are you talking about? You have to. The meaning of the words has to be the same as how they're used, not just the same words.
That's what I'm saying that you're doing. You're just changing the subject.
No, I'm not. You can say that, but I'm not. That's the problem. Like you're straw man. I don't give a shit about your straw man.
About non-normative facts. You're saying things that are not normative, right? Things that are not things that you can be in or out of accord with. They're just physical facts. that you're pointing out, and people can look at that and say, yeah, I agree that those are the physical facts, but ought those be the physical facts? I agree that it's the case that someone's will is being imposed on, but ought it be the case? Your view just collapses that distinction.
Yeah,
right?
I don't need universal agreement. I don't care if people agree with it or not. That's not contingent. It's based off the evidence. So whether they agree doesn't mean anything. I don't care if they agree.
Just collapses the is-ought distinction.
Yeah, and I solve that by getting rid of all the oughts. So, I mean, you can agree or not. I don't care if you agree. That's not important to my model. My model does it follow the evidence.
Wait, are you saying that you do agree that there is no normative point you're making? You're not saying that it's a normative fact that someone ought to do X?
No, I'm saying I don't care if you agree with me if it's normative or not. Your agreement is not required.
How is it normative? Look, you can take the fact that someone's will has been imposed upon, and someone can agree with you that that has occurred.
I don't care what they agree. Stop saying agree. I don't care what they agree on. Nothing anyone else says matters. Their agreement is irrelevant. Their words are irrelevant. Their ideas are irrelevant. The truth is independent of anything they say.
What the fuck your problem is, right? The whole point is that someone can say that I agree that
I don't care. Anytime you say someone can say, I'm just going to say shut the fuck up because I don't care what anyone can say. What they can say is irrelevant. I can say the world is flat.
Me pointing out that someone can say that is me saying
I don't
that
care what someone can say.
It's completely coherent. Look, the reason I'm pointing out that someone can say it, you can
say the world is flat. That's perfectly coherent. It's just false.
You can just take the words someone can say out of
I've already addressed this. Pull your head out of your ass. You can say the world is false. The flat. You can say the world is flat. That is perfectly coherent. It's just false.
The point.
I'm not. I've addressed this. You've just got your head up your ass. I can say, listen to the answer again. I can say the world is flat. So stop talking. Stop talking or I'm going to leave. Stop talking or I'm done with you. Shut up.
If you resist it,
shut up and let me answer the question. Shut up and let me answer the question.
Wait, I want to make one point, Josh. As much as I totally think it's deserved and hilarious both at the same time to watch you yell at TJump, I think all of us have it in our interest to see him talk to Jack also. So try not to scare him off if you can.
So again, the answer is that people can say the world is flat, and that is perfectly coherent. There is no logical contradiction in that. It's just false. So you can say that it's not normative to, or whatever you said about the chair, but it's just false. So the fact they can say it is irrelevant.
No, you're not following the point. This is why.
Then make your point clear.
This is why I don't know why you interrupted me. Look, when someone, it's not that it's false. I'm saying that they will agree with you that an imposition of will has occurred. That,
okay.
And they're going to say, well, I agree that that's happened, but there's no norm there. There's no.
So they're going to disagree that that's moral. They're going to say it's not objectively moral. That's where the disagreement is.
Yeah, that's because right there, if you define it as moral, as you've done, then they're going to agree with you that that thing has occurred. But then you're just talking past them. You're not talking about morality anymore. When you're talking, you're saying that that's immoral because they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't care what they're talking about. They don't get any say in the matter. They can define it however they want, and they're just going to be wrong.
I don't understand how they could be. How could they be wrong?
Yeah, TJump, what if they just define it like you do? They just define morality as record players exist. They're right about it.
Then I'm just going to say they're wrong. They can do that. They'd just be wrong.
How could they be
that record players exist?
The same thing that you're
morality.
That's the same thing that you're doing. You're saying
I'm saying I have evidence. So I have evidence that indicates this conclusion.
What evidence do you think? How can you think?
Moral intuition and moral progress, just like every philosopher uses moral intuition and moral progress.
Evidence.
What?
For moral claims. How could that be evidence for moral
evidence? Like, I don't care.
Most philosophers don't think that there's evidence because they don't think that moral claims generate predictive expectations. So most philosophers don't think that it's the case that you can have evidence for moral facts.
Then you're an idiot because just look at the Phil surveys paper. The Phil surveys. The Phil surveys paper literally says 50-something% of philosophers are moral realists. Yes, they do.
Josh, correct me if I'm wrong. But
No. Hold on a sec. How would it follow? How does it follow from the fact that most philosophers are moral realists that therefore they don't think that it's a meta-ethical thesis that science doesn't have anything on? I mean,
I didn't say anything about science. Who said anything about science? Like what? What does that have to do with anything?
Most moral realists think it's the case that metaethics isn't in the domain, doesn't make predictive expectations, and we can't have evidence for moral theses.
The fact that we don't and it can't are two different things. And I said, give me a paper, go away, because that's just your bold assertion.
I see all these people in the chat who are saying stuff about, evidence for moral facts. We have to be careful not to fall into normal terminology that actual philosophers use when talking to TJump, right? You have to remember when TJump's talking about a moral fact.
Okay, say that shit again. I'm gone. I'm not going to deal with your bullshit. Everything I say is more coherent in philosophy than yours. You are just bullshit. Okay. You're full of crap. Okay. I'm more in line with philosophy than you, 100%.
Okay, sure.
So well, we have to I have to manipulate my language to fit your dumbass.
That's fine. I was being a bit rude, but I did actually want to make a point, and you can, dismiss it if you think it's wrong, but I think you'll agree with it. We have to remember when he's saying moral fact, and we're telling him, what is or isn't evidence or an argument for the existence of moral facts, he's not using that term in the way that we're using it, right? He's just talking about these descriptive claims. Remember, there's no oughts on TJump's view, right? He'll presumably agree with that in a sec when I stop talking. He's just making descriptive claims about what brings us closer to the world that least imposes on will. So the evidence for those...
Please just don't give him a excuse to run away, though, if he's threatening to leave, Yeah,
I mean, I don't think I said...
No, everything he said was right. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right. So I just want Josh, last thing, then I'll back out. But it's just when you attack him, Josh... when he's saying something is like...
Oh, shut up, Isaac. He said this. He said, when I said there was no normativity on his view, he said he disagreed, but then he just agreed with you that there was only descriptivity on his view. So what the fuck are you talking about? He's just an incoherent fucking mess.
Well, I agree he's an incoherent... Well, I don't want to offend him. I don't know that I'm disagreeing with you.
I don't understand why you don't keep super muted.
The only thing I was trying to draw attention to, I think I overall agree with what you're saying, Josh. It's just that, like, when we talk to TJump, like, when he's talking about evidence for moral facts, we just have to remember all he's talking about is evidence for some descriptive claim about what maximizes preferences. And we're going to think those have the same kind of evidence as, like, other descriptive claims.
Yeah, I was not talking about that. I was talking about whether or not philosophers think that metaethical facts generate predictions, and the answer is no.
Yeah, right. They don't think that yet. They don't think it's impossible, though.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Most philosophers understand.
If you don't have a citation with a survey that says that, then shut the fuck up, because most philosophers are moral realists.
Why? What are you talking about? Yeah, but most philosophers don't think that you're...
Give me a citation. Find a survey or shut up.
Most philosophers don't think that your version of realism is the same thing. They have a completely different version of moral realism than you do. Obviously. I don't know how you do that.
Obviously, that's every moral philosopher has a different version than pretty much every other moral philosopher.
So when you say that, why would it be the case that when I say that, how could you object to that being me saying that most philosophers don't think there can be evidence? How could you object to that by saying that most philosophers are moral realists?
No. What do you pull your head out of your ass? So again, the statement that most philosophers have a different view than mine is true. Yes, obviously. The fact that most philosophers don't think morality could ever make predictive claims is just bullshit you're making up. Like, there is no evidence of that at all. Whether they agree with mine is completely separate to that point.
You said that they're moral realists.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I said, how does it follow from moral realism that moral facts generate predictions? Most philosophers don't think that.
No, they don't have an answer. It's not like it's impossible. There is no answer to that yet.
Why do you think that anybody thinks that there can be evidence for moral claims?
Because they do. That's one of the claims in moral realism.
Don't just reassert the fucking claim. I'm asking you why you think that.
Because they do. Like, you can just find quotations of that.
Why are you fucking reasserting the claim, you fucking idiot?
Because your dumb ass isn't listening. Again, that's one of the common claims in moral realism. Just go to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. There is evidence of this. They literally list it, you idiots.
They think that because they think that is what you're telling me.
No. They think that because they have examples of things they count as evidence. Like, this is something we see as evidence, so here is evidence. This is why we believe it's evidence, because this thing looks like evidence.
Provide a source.
Moral intuition, moral progress, Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, moral ethics.
Wait, where? Where does any of that say that moral facts generate predictive expectations?
predictive expectations. Like there's lots of different ways they can make predictive expectations, but that what evidence counts for isn't necessarily predictive. That's a kind of evidence. So they do count evidence for moral realism as moral intuition, moral progress, even if there aren't predictions. So again, nothing you're saying is coherent here.
Predictive?
What?
What?
You cut out.
Saying, hold on. I think I get what he's saying. He's trying to say what he means by evidence, right? Is just like a reason, right? And there can be like
no. What
right,
philosophers
like
mean? This has nothing to do with me. I'm quoting Stanford Encyclopedia here. So what they count as evidence is not only testable predictions. They count other things also, which is moral intuition, moral progress. Those are the two criteria of evidence normally used in philosophy for moral realism.
Is intuition evidence for anything?
Go ask the philosophers. You can go bother them with that.
Why don't you fucking justify that fucking
Kiss
claim?
my ass.
Justify your
Kiss
fucking claim, shit.
Kiss my ass.
Justify your fucking claim, you piece of shit.
I don't need to. Common knowledge in philosophy. If you don't know it, you're just an ignorant dumbass. Not my problem.
Justify that that's the common knowledge in philosophy.
Go for it. Go look it up. I don't give a shit.
Justify your
I don't need to. I don't need to. You can just prove you're a dumbass and ignorant of philosophy all you want. Like, I'm happy with that.
You have nothing.
I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. You can just Google how intuition counts as evidence in many different epistemologies. Go for it.
Google it, bro. What if fucking a flat earther just said you Google it, bro? That's what you've been fucking reduced to. You're fucking pathetic.
Yeah, go for it, kid. Go for it, kid. Yeah, go talk to any philosopher and ask if moral intuition counts as evidence or intuitions count as evidence. Go try it. Go try it, dumbass. Go try it, dumbass. Are you done? Are you done? Can you leave now? Go away.
Just all over your fucking face.
Go away. You got destroyed. Go away, kid.
I just
intuition isn't evidence. Yeah, go for it, kid. Go for it.
I have a question.
Nothing. You're fucking pathetic.
You're dumb. You're dumb. Go away. Go away, kid. Can you mute this kid? Because I'm done with him. I've already crushed his ass.
You dishonest piece of shit.
I've crushed his ass. Can you get rid of this kid?
Who the fuck thinks he crushed me? Does anybody?
Can you get rid of this kid? Like, he's just wasting my time here. Just get rid of him or I'm gone. Like, I'm not going to waste my time with this dumbass anymore.
I think we're in risk of TJump leaving. So I have a question, actually. I'm just wondering what Jack thinks of the moral view that Tom has given so far. If you've got an assessment of it, or like just some loose ideas or anything.
It just sounds like he's changing the subject.
In order to change the subject, you need to determine what the subject is first. And if there isn't an answer, I can't change the subject. It's kind of up in the air. But you're begging the question. You're presupposing you know what the subject is.
That you yourself conceded that you're getting rid of odds.
Yep.
Right?
But you haven't shown that those are actually required in morality. And if they're not, then I'm not changing the subject. You just got the subject wrong.
I guess I don't understand. Are you just stipulating a definition of what morality is?
No, I'm using moral intuition and moral progress to try and define it from following the evidence.
I'm trying to understand, like, so you're saying that you're discovering what it is that people mean by the word moral?
No, I'm saying that reality gives us moral intuition and moral progress, and then we refer to those sentences and so on. So I'm trying to discover what reality caused us to feel is moral intuition, moral progress. What we refer to doesn't make a difference.
No, but I'm trying to understand what it is that you're picking out when you say moral, right?
Moral intuition, moral progress. Somebody's breathing into the mic. I can't hear you.
I thought you said it was a definitional claim.
No. That's ask yourself is making that dumbass assertion. I never said that. My claim is I'm following the evidence of moral intuition and moral progress and using that to try and make a definition of what it is we're looking at.
What do you mean by make it? Like
if we find things that fall and we try and make a formula that calculates how it falls, we find like a definition of gravity, F equals ma. So if we find certain principles of morality, like moral intuition, moral progress, we can try to describe those with English words, and that's a definition. Gravity calls stuff to fall. It's a definition of gravity.
So you using definition to mean something like synthetic idealism?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm just using the words to describe the phenomenon. Which is kind of like the point of it. Are you outside? Like there's wind blowing in your mic, I think.
Jack, your phone is particularly bad, yeah.
I see. So the idea is something like, what if you say, well, the we have this common concept, moral, and we're trying to understand what it picks out. And what it picks out is what was the it that you said it was? Something about
involuntary impositions of will.
Involuntary impositions of will, right?
Yeah.
So I guess I'm not
of will as opposed to voluntary ones, right?
Yeah, a voluntary imposition of will is like deciding to pick up weights. Like you can decide to voluntarily impose on your will. That's definitely possible. Idiot.
Yeah, I didn't will to do that or anything. Fucking idiot.
Moron. You can voluntarily impose on your will. It's like increasing the difficulty on a video game. It's super obvious. Moron. All right, Jack, what were you saying?
Well, I don't understand, like, I mean, presumably that's not going to answer to everybody's
Answer to everybody's what? You cut out.
Everybody's concept of what the moral.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I don't care what people's concepts are. People have a concept that the world is flat. Their concepts are irrelevant. It's not meant to literally answer every concept of morality. I mean, are you asking, like, would it account for all possible intuitions of morality? Like, no, obviously there are some intuitions of morality that would not agree, and that's fine.
Well, I don't understand, right? So some people are going to have different moral intuitions, and you're appealing to
moral intuitions.
You're appealing to what you say coincides with people's moral intuitions, and you want to say it's this thing, arbitrary impositions of the will, right? But then there's going to be some people whose moral intuitions don't coincide with that.
Right. So I would say I'm looking at the evidence of moral intuition and moral progress, and I'd say that if theirs doesn't agree with this definition, then it's one of the contingent kinds. Like we have changes to our morality, like LGBT rights and women's rights and abolishing slavery. People had intuitions that those things were moral at one time, but given some kinds of changes in the culture and society, then those stopped being seen as moral or justifiable. So I would say that the disagreement we have is due to the cultural differences and those limitations, and they aren't describing objective morality, they're just those contingent things that we learn through society. So whether they have certain kinds of things they disagree with wouldn't be a problem for my model, because those are the contingent kinds that are not, they don't have anything to do with objective morality. They're just the ones that were convenient for promotion of the social hierarchy.
Seems like what you're doing there is not really like offering a philosophical account of morality. You're just offering some kind of like psychological account, like some kind of empirical thesis.
What would be the difference? Like, what do you mean, like an a priori account of morality versus a posteriori? Because yeah, it's definitely a posteriori.
Yeah, but it just sounds like what you're saying is I have a hypothesis as to what it is that explains the majority of people's moral intuitions or something like that.
Yeah, I'd say I use that to try and discover a phenomenon, kind of like how Newton said, I have a theory of explaining why stuff falls. Like, he didn't actually know what actually caused the stuff to fall. He didn't know what the ontology of gravity was. He just created a formula to describe it.
But that just seems like not a philosophical project.
Sure it is. Every scientific project starts with philosophy.
Well, I just mean that all you're doing is making some kind of empirical claim.
Well, right. That's kind of how you do it. That's the point. That's what makes it objective.
Yeah, but I mean, if to have an empirical debate, we would need something like, controlled studies or something like that.
Yeah, and that's why my model makes testable predictions about what we will feel in the future.
Yeah, but I just, what is there really to debate? Like, I don't have any investment in any empirical claim of that kind.
That's okay. I don't care. You don't need to. That's fine.
Well, Godless Girl wanted there to be a debate about something, but why? What is there to debate? I mean, it's like he's making some kind of scientific claim. I haven't seen any studies that support the claim. I don't really understand what the dispute is. I mean, until I see those studies, I don't see any reason to accept them.
That's fair enough. Like I can accept that.
So what's the?
Well, Tom jumped. He's a physicalist. He wanted to defend his physicalism. So that's what he requested the debate to be about. Ask yourself is talking about morality.
You invited me on here. It said something about that. I didn't. Either one was fine with me. I didn't care. So yeah, Godless said you had arguments against physicalism.
Yeah.
What are those?
Sorry, I cut out for a second.
What are your arguments against physicalism?
Well, I would usually appeal to rule following considerations.
And how is that an argument against physicalism?
Well, the idea is that physical facts underdetermine things like rules. And so if mental facts are normative, they can't be reduced to physical facts because normative facts are basically just rules.
Okay, well, I reject that. I think that moral facts can be reduced to physical facts. Would that apply to any rules, like logical rules you make the same argument for?
Well, I think physical facts will underdetermine logical rules, yeah.
How so? Because as far as I can see, that the logical rules follow as descriptions of reality. So that's not, the logical is kind of determined by reality, not the other way around.
The logical is determined by reality?
Yeah, so languages of logic describe reality. So when you say it's underdetermined, what do you mean by underdetermined? Because as far as I can tell, it's fully determined.
Meaning that appealing to the physical facts alone can't give you a complete account of that phenomenon.
Is that all physical facts or just the physical facts we know of? Because as far as I could tell, there could just be more physical facts we don't know of for any unknown.
All physical facts.
All right, and what wouldn't they account for?
Well, they wouldn't be able to furnish you with a way of distinguishing, let's say, following one rule correctly versus following a deviant rule incorrectly, right? So presumably there's a fact of the matter as to which rule is being followed. But if you appeal to the physical facts alone, you can't actually individuate those two things because the physical facts are consistent with both interpretations.
As far as I know, it's only consistent with both interpretations because we don't have all the physical facts. If we had all the physical facts, then we would be able to distinguish between them. Like specifically using physics examples, if we had all the physical facts, we'd know which physics example was correct, which interpretation of quantum mechanics was correct, and we'd know which were incorrect. I don't know of any two interpretations that could exist that wouldn't be discernible through the physical interpretations. Physical facts. Can you give an example of two interpretations that wouldn't be able to distinguish, or wouldn't be able to be distinguishable by physical facts?
Yeah, so if for instance, if somebody were to be asked what are 67 and 58, right? And
like
the answer they gave was 125, right?
Okay.
The same physical facts that would be appealed to account for their intention to follow the addition rule, which they would have performed correctly, could be appealed to equally well to account for the fact that they were intending to follow the quaddition rule, some variation of the addition rule, which it would be the incorrect answer to. So in other words, the same physical facts could be harmonized with correct application of one rule and incorrect application of some deviant rule.
And why would that be a problem for physicalism?
Well, it would just mean that that if there's a fact of the matter as to which rule is being followed, right? The fact that the same physical facts can be appealed to in both cases just means that it's in virtue of something other than the physical facts that there's a fact of the matter as to which is the rule, which rule is correctly being attributed.
Again, I would argue that the physical system does determine which one of those metrics is correct. So if we took a bunch of rocks and just added them up and put them next to one another and they added up to whatever number you talked about, we would say whatever system of math that works is the language we're using to describe how reality works. But the language we're using, the math and logic, isn't reality itself. It's a language we made up. And so we could make up multiple different kinds of languages, one that's right and one that's wrong, and get the same result. But that doesn't tell us anything about reality. It's not that there's a contradiction in reality there or some underdetermined aspect of reality. It's the fact that we've just made up languages and there are different kinds of languages that can describe the same thing. There's still only one thing occurring.
Well, I wasn't talking about what, in virtue of what is the application of the rule correct or not, but rather attribution of the rule. In virtue of what is the attribution of the rule?
Like what in reality, which system in reality is governing the thing that causes the math to get to that result?
No. I'm saying that when we attribute to somebody the intention to perform addition, which they then perform correctly, right? Their behavior or their dispositions to behave, right, can be appealed to just as well to attribute to them the intention to perform quaddition, which they would be performing incorrectly in that case.
Right, but what does their intention have anything to do with there not being physical facts? Because all of that can be explained by physical facts and their neurology. So what about that can't be explained by physical facts?
The correct attribution of the rule that they're following.
Again, so that's all just conceptual stuff in their head. So it could be. It's just I'm not sure which part of that would not be explainable by physical facts.
Yeah, I'm saying that the conceptual stuff can't be explained by the physical facts.
Why would that not be explainable by neurological processes in brain chemistry?
Because those would be consistent with attribution of both rules.
I'm not sure, because I believe if one person has a particular brain chemistry to do the quaddition, there's going to be a difference in that brain chemistry than the brain chemistry to do the addition. But there would be a difference.
No, I don't see what the logical bar is to appealing. I don't see what the logical bar is to appealing to the same facts about the brain states, right, as a way of reducing the counterpart.
Jack, you have a lot of, there's wind. Why don't you give him the robot argument, that analogy? Maybe it'll dumb it down a little for him so he can understand more. He seems confused.
No, I understand perfectly. So the argument is that if quaddition is in any way different from addition, which you're arguing it is, and there's some ontological difference there, then there's going to be a difference in the brain that corresponds to these two things, and it's going to be a measurable difference. If there is no difference between quaddition and addition, they're doing one right and one differently, then they're just calling it different things. They're just, as Ask Yourself did, they're just changing the definitions. There's actually no substantive difference between the two. So for there to be a substantive difference between quaddition and addition, there has to be something that would cause a mental change in neurology from one to the other.
I'm saying that those physical facts that you're trying to appeal to can be appealed
they can be appealed to by both because it's underdetermined, but if we had the physical facts, they would be determined. Like we could look at the brains, the two brains, and say, this person is trying to do quaddition but getting it wrong.
Jesus, you're so fucking stupid.
Yeah, I'm saying that those facts that you're appealing to underdetermine the mental fact.
Right, and I'm saying that's not the case. Like they determine the mental fact. Like we can just look at the brain state. This person is trying to do quaddition. We can tell by the structure of their brain state.
Well, I just don't understand what is the logical bar.
You cut out.
Yeah,
I don't understand what is the logical bar to appealing to the same facts about brain states, right, which are being used to reduce the mental state, which are being appealed to as a way of reducing the mental state to one rule, right? Why couldn't you appeal to that to as what the intention to follow the other rule is identified with, right?
Well, if we're saying reality is governed by one particular set of systems, then it's going to have certain consequences. And if there is no distinction between the consequences in that system and a different system, then we can't tell a difference purely by our ignorance, not because there isn't one. So the fact that we can't tell a difference doesn't mean it isn't going in a particular way. So again, the two languages, quaddition and addition, because they're purely just math systems of language, we can make synonymous systems of language to describe reality. And we may not have the physical ability to distinguish between those two purely based on our ignorance, but that doesn't tell us anything about reality. There's no problem there for reality working in one way. Well, it's like, I don't see why you think this is an issue.
Doesn't matter what facts, right? Doesn't matter what facts you discover, right? If they're physical facts, right? They're going to fall afoul of the same underdetermination problem.
Everything falls from the underdetermination problem, but that doesn't mean it isn't going that way. Underdetermination is purely an epistemic thing. We don't know how it's happening.
No, the objection I'm making is not an epistemic one.
How so? Because you keep saying we know, like we're trying to do quaddition and addition, so that's all about knowledge.
I'm saying that given that there's a fact of the matter as to which rule is being followed, right? Whatever dispositional facts or behavioral facts you adduce, right? Which is to say, whatever natural or physical facts you adduce to account for the intentional facts, the same physical or dispositional facts could be adduced to account for the intention to perform a different rule, but to do so incorrectly.
All right, let me see if I can explain it to you this way. If we have a CD, like any CD, and we look at the ones and zeros of the pattern of the dimples on the CD, that could be interpreted in infinitely many ways. We have no idea what that means until we have a processing system to read the CD and tell us this means whatever's on the CD, like Microsoft XP or whatever. But without that processing system, then it could be anything. Does that mean the CD is not physical? No, it's still physical. We just don't know what the processing system is to read it. There could be lots of different ones that could be read lots of different ways, but none of that indicates the CD isn't physical. The same thing applies in the example you're listing of quaddition versus addition. Quaddition and addition would just be like Windows XP versus Apple Microsoft. We don't know which one of those is the case when we look at the CD, and nothing in the physical system of the CD tells us is it Windows XP or is it Apple, but it's still purely physical. It's just the fact that it could be either, since it's not determined in that sense, but it's still physical. There's nothing about that that makes it non-physical.
It sounds like you're understanding my objection to be. Sounds like you're understanding my. Sounds like you're understanding my objection to be
You cut out again. What?
I said it sounds like you're understanding my objection to be an.
Yeah, I think I understand your objection, but disagree with it.
He's saying you're understanding it to be an epistemic objection.
Well, no, because
But I'm not making it.
No, I'm not saying that, because if we look at a CD, like the CD, the ontology of the CD, there's nothing that we can look at on the CD physically to know whether it's Windows XP or Apple. There's absolutely, we can dissect everything about the CD and never ever know that. There's nothing in the physical system that determines is it Windows XP or is it Apple, because there's lots of different ways that the system that's reading the CD could work to read that in different ways. That doesn't mean it's not reading Windows or it's not reading Apple. It's still reading one or the other. And there's nothing in the physical system that we can tell for certain which one it is. But that doesn't mean that there is a non-physical aspect to the CD. It's still purely physical. We still, I imagine me and Jack both agree the CD is purely made of matter. It's not.
But then in that case, in virtue of what, is there a fact of the matter about it? Which it is.
What do you mean? It is either one or the other. It's my CD is for Windows XP.
In virtue of what? Yeah, but in
virtue of I can put it in the computer and it runs on Windows XP and not on Windows on Apple. So I take the system and I apply it to whichever system is being used to see what can read it.
But I'm not understanding, right? Like if you're saying it's one rather than the other, but the physical facts don't determine whether it is one or the other, right?
Right.
Then it has to be some non-physical fact which determines.
No. Why would it have to be some non-physical fact there? Because there's no non-physical fact in the CD. It's
saying
purely
the physical, because you're saying that the physical facts don't determine that it's one or the other.
Right. You can put the CD both in an XP and an Apple computer, just won't read one or the other.
Look, it's a simple logical point, right?
Right. No, I understand what you're saying, but find where in the CD is there a non-physical thing? Like, do you think this CD I'm holding is not purely physical?
Well, I'm just saying that if the physical facts, right, do not determine whether it is one or the other, and yet there's a fact of the matter about whether it is one or the other, it just logically follows that it must be in virtue of a non-physical fact that it's.
Right, but I just gave you an example of a CD who has exactly that quality of it. There is no physical fact about the CD that can determine whether it's one or the other, but we both agree it's still physical. So your analogy fails there, because it's not just the physical facts of the thing we're looking at, it's whatever's reading it also.
But then you're just appealing to another set of physical.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking.
Right, that's part of the analogy. So again, just using the CD, tell me which part of the CD is not physical.
What?
Yeah, but look, I'm just saying that if there's a fact of the matter about what's being attributed, and it's not physical facts which determine which of the two, let's say, normative facts it is, right, or intentional facts it is, then it must be in virtue of something non-physical.
Right, I'm saying that's a false dichotomy, because I can show you exactly that. I can have a CD right here in my hand, which none of the physical facts can determine whether it's Windows XP or Apple. But that is false to say that it must be some non-physical thing.
If you're saying it's a false dichotomy, you're saying there's a third option to it being either physical or non-physical. But saying something is either physical or non-physical is a true dichotomy.
No, I'm saying that the physical facts don't need to tell us everything about how it's operating. That's not a requirement of the physical facts. They don't need to give us all of the information.
You see, now you're falling back on the epistemic and
Right, because anything that refers back to the mind is going to be epistemic. It's purely a matter of ignorance, not a matter of what is actually the case. The problem is the reason we can't differentiate between quadition and audition isn't because it isn't one of the case. It's just because we can't get absolute knowledge. I mean, you're essentially just making the same argument Plantinga does with his evolutionary argument against naturalism. Well, we can't know these things. Our brains can't do this. Like, yes,
Tom,
we could be in the Matrix.
He's not arguing about whether we can know it. He's arguing about whether there's a fact of the matter.
No, I understand what he's attempting to argue. The problem is the reason his argument fails is because it falls back on the epistemology, and he just rejects the epistemological argument. So because it is purely epistemic, his argument always fundamentally will rest on an epistemic premise. That's why it doesn't work. It's always going to be epistemic. We can't know, like, what we know doesn't matter. Is reality operating one way or the other? Yes, presumably.
But Tom, you must be following. He's just saying if there's a fact of the matter, and the fact of the matter isn't determined by something physical, then it's determined by something non-physical. You have to push back by either saying there's not a fact of the matter, or that the fact of the matter somehow is physical.
Or it's not determined.
Yeah, that's saying there's not a fact of the matter, isn't it?
Like quantum mechanics, you have determined things and random things. I don't know if that qualifies as a fact of the matter or not.
So why don't you just try to clearly answer to him? Do you think that there's a fact of the matter about whether they're doing quaddition or addition?
Yes.
And do you think that that fact of the matter is determined by something physical?
Yes, sort of.
Okay, and you don't think that anything non-physical plays into determining what the fact of the matter is?
Yes.
Okay, and also saying it might not be determined, just saying it's a fact of the matter, like that's kind of all that we need right there, right? Like, if it's a fact of the matter, it's determined by something. That's kind of like part of.
Well, no, that's because there are facts of the matter in quantum mechanics, and they're not determined. So I don't. That's not correct, but I don't know if that's.
What does Jack mean by determined?
Good question.
He just means he. Yeah, we're talking about it being true in virtue of something, right? Right. Yeah. So if it's true, just use the word true in virtue of then if you want, Tom. It's like, so there's this fact of the matter, and it's either true in virtue of something physical, or it's not true in virtue of something physical, right?
Okay.
Okay, so do you think that the fact of the matter about which rule is being followed is true in virtue of something physical,
yes,
something non-physical, or there's also, I guess, the option of both?
Physical.
Somehow. Okay, so that's what you have to explain to Jack.
Again, I would just say it is determined by something physical, regardless of whether or not we can know it.
Yeah, but I'm not making an epistemic objection.
That's the thing, you are. It's like, if it can be determined that it is doing, like there is one apple in front of me, or whatever numerical analysis you want to do, and we can't tell the difference between whether it's addition or quaddition, running the show behind the scenes doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference if there's multiple different systems of physics that could operate in the same way. One of them is the case.
I'm not saying that the problem is that we don't have access to the facts, right? I'm saying the facts in virtue of which the attribution of one rule rather than the other is the correct attribution, right? What I'm saying is that appeal to the physical facts alone, right, can't actually furnish the account for which is the correct attribution of the rule.
Right, and I'm saying that's false because the way we express physical facts right now, all the kinds of physical facts we currently know about can't do that. That does not follow that all possible combinations of physical facts can't do that. So I would grant that none of the physical facts we know of or how we know how to express physical facts can accomplish that. That does not follow that no possible thing in the future we could learn could solve that problem just purely by physical facts.
Yeah, but I think you're granting the point when you bring up the point about the CD.
What about the CD isn't physical?
I'm saying that if it's not the physical facts alone which establish that it's one or the other, if it's not the physical facts alone which establish that it's one or the other, then it must be in virtue of some non-physical fact.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. What determines the CD is other physical facts we don't know about yet. None of the physical facts about the CD tell us anything about the use of the CD. But if we can learn other physical facts, like about the computer, and we can know it runs Windows XP. The same thing applies to the quaddition and addition example. In that example, none of the facts of physical facts we know of at all in humanity, none of the ways we know of how to express physical facts can tell the difference. That does not mean there isn't some more stuff about physical facts we haven't learned yet. You've excluded the option of unknown physical facts or unknown ways to express physical facts. You're just simply saying none of the physical facts we know of, or the ways we know of how to express physical facts, can explain this, which is not a true dichotomy. There's the third option there, unknown physical facts.
Unknown physical facts are included in one of the two halves of the dichotomy.
How so?
Oh my!
When I say physical facts versus non-physical facts, when I say physical facts versus non-physical facts, I'm including within physical facts either physical facts which are known or unknown.
Right, and I'm saying that all of those things are going to be determined by physical facts of some kind.
All of what?
Quaddition or addition. It will be determined by physical facts.
Yeah, but that's just not addressing the objection.
What do you mean?
The objection is that that whatever physical facts you adduce, right, to establish whether it's one rule or another, could be equally well adduced to establish that it's the other rule.
Right, and I rejected that. Remember I said that if you look at two brains, one doing quaddition, one doing addition, there will be a difference. So my argument is there will be a difference physically. There will not be a perfect equivalence between two cases. It's purely epistemic. We just don't know. There will never be like an ontic thing in reality that can be interpreted, or that can actually be two different ways, unless it's quantum mechanical in some way.
I don't see what the logical bar is to there not being a difference.
What do you mean, logical bar?
I don't see what logically prevents the two brains from being identical.
Well, that would be the fact that there are other physical facts that determine it. Like,
sorry, I mean identical. I mean physically identical.
Again, if you're saying there's two different systems, quaddition and addition, and there's some difference between the systems.
Yeah, I'm saying there's a difference, right?
Well,
I'm just saying that the difference is not a physical one.
No, that's the part I'm saying. That difference is going to be a physical one. So whatever difference you say is...
Yeah, but what's the logical bar?
There's a difference between the two systems.
But the question is, what's the logical bar?
Right. So I'm saying, if you're saying there is a difference between these two systems, system A and system B, then whatever that difference is, that's the bar.
No, what I'm saying is, right, since the same physical facts can be adduced to establish that it's one rule rather than the other, they can be used to establish either rule. I don't see that there's any logical bar to the two brains being physically identical.
Well, again,
and yet they're still being a difference.
Well, again, that's if you say there is a difference between quaddition and addition, whatever that difference is, that's the bar. That difference is going to cause a physical difference in reality, or there is going to be a physical difference that causes that.
Yeah, I'm saying, again, I don't see why it has to be physical, or how it even could be physical.
I'm not sure what you mean. If there's a physical difference, that would cause it. Like if there's a big barrier in the middle of a lake, it'll cause it to, or a river, it'll cause it to go one way or the other way. So if there's quaddition and addition, and there's a difference between the two.
No, but see, the point is that the outcome the outcomes can be the same regardless of which rule is being applied. Because if one is being applied incorrectly, right, you're going to get the same outcome.
Right, no, I'm
as
rejecting
if the
that.
rule, as if the other rule is being applied. Well, but it's just trivially true.
Well, no, because I'm saying the outcome is determined by the physical forces. So if you change the physical forces, you change the outcome. So if there is a difference between quaddition and addition, there's going to be a physical difference. There's going to be
the way I understand Jack is take two persons that have different intentions. One intends to do addition, the other one intends to do quaddition. In virtue of what can we say that they can't have identical brain states?
No, remember, I already addressed that with the CD. We have a CD with a bunch of dots that are exactly the same. It could be for Macintosh. It could be for XP. That's the exact same analogy he used. But it is determined by something physical. It's determined by the computer. It's determined by a different physical fact. So likewise, the brain state of whether he intends to do addition or quaddition is determined by the physical structure of whatever differences in addition. So if it requires you to do, if quaddition requires you to multiply by 3 or whatever, there's a different transformation, then the physical transformation in that different system will tell you what is going on. There's a difference. There's a physical difference between the two systems. They are to do different things. And if the person intends to do addition, then the part of their brain where they associate addition with that particular system of whatever addition physically is going to light up. And if the person wants to do quaddition, the part of their brain that wants to do that multiplication times 3 area is going to light up.
Okay, well, but are you saying there's a logical contradiction in the case where two persons that have different intentions could have identical brain states?
No, I'm saying it's just physically going to be determined by something. It may not be determined by the brain.
So we could have two differing intentions with the same brain states, and I think that's what Jack is getting at.
Remember,
right?
I already covered that.
Wait,
stop. I literally already covered this. The CD example is exactly that. The CD could be for Mac, it could be for Apple, it's just doing Apple wrong. Has the exact same physical structure. You cannot tell the difference one way or the other. Is it Mac? Is it PC? Don't know.
You could, right? There are physical facts.
They're not in the CD. There are physical facts that are not in the CD. So my argument for the brain case is the same thing. The brain states could be identical, but to determine which one is doing quaddition, which one is doing addition, you could look at other things like how were they brought up? What were they taught in school? Where did this memory get saved into their brain to organize their brain structure in such a way that it put quaddition into this neuron? You could look at the other physical facts.
This has been going on a long time.
I've been hearing it.
He's very confused.
Look,
will you give him the robot analogy?
Are the CDs identical?
Yes. Yes.
The CDs are. So you're telling me a Windows CD is identical to a Macintosh?
Remember, his analogy is they're trying to do quaddition but doing it wrong.
So if you're take my analogy instead.
I'm not talking with you. I'm talking with Jack. So again.
Wait, Jack, am I not getting at what you're saying?
No, I think you're getting it.
No.
Good. Okay.
Jack, stop. So again, Jack, your analogy is there are two brains. One is trying to do quaddition and getting it wrong, and the other one is doing addition and getting it right. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So if you have a CD that are the exact same.
One is doing addition. One is doing addition correctly, and one is doing quaddition incorrectly.
Exactly. So if you have a CD, which is the same, it's trying to do Windows XP and doing it correctly, and another CD which is trying to do Apple and doing it incorrectly, but is doing Windows XP, that is exactly the analogy he's using. So I got the analogy exactly correct.
Right, but then the CDs would be persons, just to clarify.
Right, they're the exact same. Yes.
Okay, so I'm talking about that's fine. That's basically the analogy that I gave, right? Take two CDs, persons, right? And one of them tries to install Mac and the other one tries to install Windows. Those CDs could be physically identical.
Right. And I covered that. I said what determines them is not the physical shape of the CDs, but in the case of people, their upbringing. You could say.
Wait, I'm not so sure if we disagree, right? Are you saying that it's possible that the CDs are physically
God.
identical?
I've already said yes to that like 4 times.
Well,
obviously,
then
my analogy
you have a problem
uses
on your
no,
hands.
no, I don't. I've already solved this. So my analogy uses 2 identical CDs. So my analogy already answered that like an hour
No,
ago.
2 physically identical. The analogy that Jack gave is that they would be 2 physically identical CDs.
Which is literally what I said. So that was literally my example an hour ago. Catch up, kid. So back to the point. What physically determines there's 2 brains. One is doing addition correctly. One is doing quaddition incorrectly. The physical thing that determines them, even though they're exactly physically the same, is their upbringing. You can look at their life and say, this person learned the word quaddition and how to do quaddition in this case, which was then got mapped onto their brain at this point to this neuron, whereas when the other person learned addition, it was mapped onto the exact same neuron, but they were learning 2 different concepts. And so we know when that neuron lights up, for this person it's quaddition, for this person it's addition. There is a physical difference, but it's not in the brain, it's in a separate system, just like the CD.
That sounds like mumbo jumbo.
Then you're
Look,
an
the
idiot,
idea is
'cause
that
it's pretty
let
easy.
me explain.
Can I say one to you, Danny? I think there might be confusion because TJump seems to be saying that the CDs are identical, right? And I think you might be assuming when he says that that he's analogizing to all physical facts being identical. He's not. He's saying there's an additional physical difference. It's just that the CDs are the same. There's some other physical difference about.
I thought you went over that with him, and you were correct. I heard when you reviewed that with him, you were correct, right? And he's not taking what you said seriously.
I mean, I don't know anything about this art, and I'll also take this moment to say I think I said something wrong earlier. I think I said that physical facts have to be true in virtue of something. I don't even know if that makes sense or not. Maybe there's proof. I have no idea. But
we're talking about a dichotomy.
I know. I was just making a little point, so I just want to correct that. But because Avi pointed out. But Danny, all I was saying, like, I think you can continue with your line. It's just when he says the CDs are identical, don't jump to assuming he's saying all the physical facts are identical. He's trying to say there's just identity in terms of the CDs, but there's other things that are physical and that aren't identical, like the thing reading the CD.
Okay. That's why you need the robot argument.
So just to be clear, so he's not actually but it's not. I don't think it quite is, because he's not actually saying you can have all the same physical facts and still a difference about. Pardon?
Well, when I asked, are the CDs physically identical? He said yes, but if they're
that's not all the Danny. This is the difference. Exactly.
There are other physical facts.
Yeah, Josh has it.
But I don't know. But I don't know why is there a logical problem with that? Why couldn't you just have 2 physically identical scenarios, including the CD and all of the other physical facts?
Yeah, that's what you have to move to. Yeah.
But nevertheless, and run a rule following paradox on that. What's the bar? He hasn't explained that. He just keeps asserting it.
And I don't understand why he would say that the other physical facts wouldn't be in the set of the physical facts that are identical.
Again, so if he's saying there is a difference between quaddition and addition, that is going to entail a physical difference. There is literally something different about them.
Why are you begging the question? Why are you begging the question?
They make them the same without a difference. How can they be the same without a physical difference? Go for it. Explain to me how they can be different without being physically different.
Because there's no contradiction in saying
that's
that there's
not an answer.
one.
Explain to me how.
I haven't even answered. Right. Let me finish. There's no contradiction in saying that one CD intends X and the other CD intends Y, and they both all have the same physical properties. They're all identical. All the physical properties are identical. There's no contradiction there, and you're not going to find one, TJump, and I predict that you will not try to find a contradiction there.
And TJump, just to be clear, you understand he's not just talking about the CDs being the same. He's talking about the CDs and the computer reading them, and every other physical thing is the same.
I did not understand that when I said the CDs were physically the same.
I know.
I was referring specifically to the CDs. He was doing a terrible job explaining what he was saying. So yes, if he's saying all the physical facts are the same, no, there's going to be some physical fact that's different.
That means there would be a contradiction in saying that we have 2 CDs, right, that have different intentions, but all the same physical facts, right? Now, what I take to be an intention, right, what the properties that form that concept, right, are not going to be shared with the concept of physical at all, right, such that we can,
well, they are. They literally
are.
Are. That's like the consensus in physicalism and neurology.
Then give me one common property between I desire water and a physical fact.
Your neurological brain state, like done?
No, okay, you're saying that I desire water and some brain state are identical, but what's the common property?
No, I did not say that. So again, the brain state is arbitrary like the shape of the CD. It is the brain state plus your upbringing that makes that particular brain state you desire water.
Do you not think that desires are the same thing as particular physical states like brain states? I thought that's your claim. You're a physicalist,
They
right?
are, but the particular shape of the brain is determined by your upbringing. So
that's irrelevant. I'm not talking about what was responsible. I'm not talking about what caused the brain state or caused the intention. That's not what we're discussing.
No,
we're
it is
discussing
exactly
identity.
what you're discussing because you're asking for the difference. What is the difference between two identical brain
No,
states?
I'm not. I'm asking what's the shared property?
Shared property of what?
Between a brain state and my desire to drink water.
They are literally the same thing. Like what?
So if they're the same thing, they would at least have one property in common. And give it to me. Give it to me, TJump. I bet you can't.
They literally are the same thing.
That was so cringe.
So your
Go ahead, give me the
desire
common
is
property.
a brain state. It's your neurological brain state. That is
You're
what
just
it is.
repeating the claim.
Yes, because that's what it is. That's what brain states are.
Right, but
Thoughts
if
are
that's
brain
true,
states.
then they would share properties. But you're not giving me a property in which they
what
share.
the hell are you talking about? That's not true at all. Like the music that comes out
Say
of the CD
A is identical
on the CD.
to B. That means that they share properties.
No, again, you're an idiot. The CD has music on it. The music is identical to the CD. It's just in a different language. The CD has it in a bunch of ones and zeros, and it has to come through.
What are you talking about right now?
You're an idiot. So again, our brain.
If I say,
no, stop. I understand what you're saying. You're just an idiot. So again, a CD. There is music on a CD. The music and the CD are the same. The music is on the CD. They're the same, but they're in a different language.
So when I put my ear on the CD, I'm going to hear the music.
They're in a different language. That's the thing.
If they were the same, then that's what I would expect.
No. Again, idiot. If your brain was a computer and you put it in the CD, you would hear the music. Yes, but
they're not identical though. The CD is not. If I ask you, let's listen to some music, and I throw a CD at you, right? You're not.
Right. So when I say
CD.
your brain state or your feeling, desire of water is a brain state, I don't mean literally.
I understand that's the claim, but what I'm asking is, what is the properties in which they share? And you have not pointed out one. And let me just predict what you're going to do.
No.
You're going to provide an example, but you're not going to give me a common property.
You dumbass. Get out of the room or I'm going to leave. So again, I'm going to answer your dumbass question again. It's like a CD. A CD is the music.
I knew you would give an example.
Yes, that's how things work. Example.
No, I'm asking for a common property. Don't answer a different question.
There is no common property, you
Danny,
idiot. They're the same thing through a medium.
Let's try not to make TJump leave yet. I keep having to come in to do this.
He won't answer the question.
No, I have answered your question, you moron. You do not need the same properties. They are different things. They are different languages.
What's the property?
You guys are going to give him an excuse to run.
Fucking idiot. So again,
the word, this is the best excuse to run because you can't answer the question.
Up, you morons. So again, the word tree and the word
wait. Let's let him go back to talking to Jack because they were having some.
That's fine.
Fucking moron. So again, the word tree and the word key mean the same thing. They don't share properties. They mean the same fucking thing. You fucking dumbass. A CD has music on it.
Claim. I'm asking what the common property is.
Moron. There is no common property. You don't need one.
And then they're not identical because that's what identity means, TJump.
You fucking moron.
Look,
the word
to say
tree,
that
no,
A
wrong.
and B are identical but
mute
they share
him.
no
God
properties?
Damn it. Someone
What kind of
mute
philosophy
this
is that? You're
shit.
quack. You're
Someone
quack.
mute
You're
this
quack.
kid. Get this
Danny,
kid
let's
out.
Let's let him talk to Jack because if you talk,
I'm gonna fucking
clearly just gonna leave.
Dump on this dumb sack of shit again until he shuts the fuck up. So my answer is correct. This guy's a fucking moron. A CD has music on it. It's just in a different language. The word tree and the word key mean the same thing. They don't share common properties because they're different fucking languages. So your brain states and your thoughts are two sides of the same coin. They don't need same properties, you fucking moron. One is a transition from the other one through the medium of the brain. Dumbass.
You're a fucking embarrassment as a human being.
Stop.
Get out,
Godlyish is very polite. I don't think Jack will take back over because he just thinks Tom Jump is a joke now. But Godlyish is very polite, and I know he understands what Danny is saying. Maybe he'll.
Nah, I'm good. I can't right now. Maybe later.
Yeah, I'll have a large fry with.
Did Jack have any like final thoughts? Like what's your kind of summary? Like where are you sitting on all this? Since you were the one who we all kind of originally wanted to see debate.
Well,
I mean, you don't have to get back into it. You can just give a closing or something. I'm just curious what your final take is. Yeah.
Well, I think Josh is right that he just keeps asserting that there's a physical difference, but he's not actually offering an argument that there's some logical bar to the two systems being physically identical, and yet there being some fact of the matter about two systems being some fact of the matter in virtue of which the two systems can differ.
Well, right. It's not a logical necessity. There could be dualism, and so there could be two physical states determined by some other non-physical thing, but it's not a logical necessity. There can be a physical system determined by just physical stuff.
Well, but then in that case, right, it just seems to be the case then that the physical facts will underdetermine these other facts.
No,
because you can have an identity.
I'm saying those other facts, whatever they are simply just describing the physical system. So they can't be underdetermined by the physical system because they're only describing the physical system. So if there's something else that you're describing, that would also entail some non-physical thing, but it's just not the case that there are such things.
But what do you mean? I mean, if you can have there be a fact of the matter, even though the physical facts are the same, what that shows is that the physical facts underdetermine the facts that are to be explained.
Right, and I'm saying it's possible that dualism is true. So it's possible there is like an idealistic consciousness non-physical thing, and if that was the case, it is possible that there is two physical facts which are exactly identical determined by this idealistic thing. But in reality, there is no such case.
Yeah, but see, that what's actually required, right, is to show how, if you can appeal to the same dispositional facts in the attribution of each of the two rules, how the dispositional facts are sufficient to account for the normative fact.
Right. I'm not making that argument. I'm not saying there can be two exactly identical physical facts if everything in the physical universe is the same that mean two different things. I'm saying for them to mean two different things, there has to be a physical difference between them. So, and that's my claim about reality is that if there is a difference between these two systems, it's going to be a physical difference. There's no logical contradiction there. There's no logical necessity that it has to be this way. There could be an idealistic thing there, but that isn't required. So your argument as a deductive argument for idealism does not work because it is perfectly possible that that system is determined physically. Because if our language, quadition and audition, describe physical concepts, then they can't be identical. They have to be different if our terms refer to physical things. And that is perfectly logically coherent.
I mean, if the physical facts can be identical.
Right, no, I'm saying
they
can't be. That's right. I'm saying that our terms, quadition and audition, describe
physical things. But you are saying
things.
They can be. You're saying it's logically possible.
Right. What I'm saying is that in our reality, when we talk about quadition or audition or any kind of concept, we're talking about a physical concept. And so for there to be a difference, it has to be physical, given what we know about reality. Now, it's possible there is an idealism. It's possible there is a different state. It's not logically necessary that everything is physical, but the best evidence we have is there is no such example. Now, if you can give an example in reality where there are two exact things that we know of that are not physically determined, that would be great evidence for your argument, but we don't have any. We have no examples of things in reality that cannot be determined physically.
If you're saying it's possible for them to be identical, then you're just conceding that the physical facts underdetermine.
Well, no, I'm saying it's possible for physical facts to underdetermine. That's possible in a universe, but it is not the case in any facts we know of in our universe. Like, it's possible there is a unicorn in a universe. It's just not in our universe. We have no reason to believe in unicorns. So I grant the possibility that there is two identical physical facts that are underdetermined by physical causes and have an idealistic cause. It's possible. We have no evidence of that in our universe. We have no evidence of a particular physical case that isn't just determined by other physical cases. All of intentionality and desires and motivations, all of that can be, and brain states, all of that is just determined physically. So those aren't examples of an underdetermined physical system. So if it's possible for there to be an underdetermined physical system, you have not provided one. I grant it's possible. We just have no evidence of one.
I don't see what evidence has.
So I'm granting that if there is an undetermined physical system, there can be an idealistic thing determining it. That is possible. There's no logical contradiction there. It isn't an unsound or it's not an unvalid argument. It does make sense. I'm arguing it's just not the case. It's not a deductive argument for physicalism, because I can just say all facts in reality are determined physically. And so I can hold the position of physicalism by saying all facts in reality are determined physically, and you presenting this argument of saying, well, maybe there's a physical fact that is underdetermined. I mean, okay, that's possibility. We have no examples of this thing, so I have no reason to accept idealism. That is not an argument against physicalism. It's just saying it's possible there's idealism. Like, okay.
I mean, I don't understand why you keep talking about evidence or examples, right? Because I'm not actually making some kind of evidentiary.
Right. I think you're trying to make a deductive argument. You're saying that there are these two cases of this physical system that are underdetermined. Now, that's as a hypothetical, that's perfectly logically consistent. So yes, if this is true, if it is true that there are two physical systems that are exactly identical with no difference, and they could possibly have two multiple interpretations, then there could be idealism. Yes, I grant the argument. Yes. But there is no reason to believe there is such a thing. So yes, that is a good argument for a hypothetical. It is not an argument against physicalism.
But the point is, right, that if the same physical facts are consistent with both interpretations, that just means that the physical facts are not actually sufficient.
I can grant that. I can just say that isn't the case in reality. It's like they're all determined physically. There are not there's not a set of physical facts that can be interpreted in two different ways.
No, but it's an a priori argument, right? It follows from the fact that if the physical facts can be the same, right, it must be in virtue of something else, right?
Right, I grant that, but I'm saying that it can't. That's not the way reality works. It's a possible way for reality to work. It just isn't the way reality works, as far as I can tell.
Can I ask Jack a clarifying question? Jack,
yeah.
Are you saying if it's possible for the physical fact, logically possible, for the physical facts to be identical, and then for there still to be a difference in terms of like what rule is being followed or something like this, that possibility means that physicalism is false?
Yes.
Okay, so you want him to actually derive a contradiction when you say that all the physical facts are the same and there's still a fact of the matter about what rule is being followed. Or all the physical facts are the same and there is still some it could be either way which rule is being followed.
Right, and my argument is that I can grant that possibility, but it does not contradict physicalism because it's not necessarily true. It's possibly true.
TJump, I might have spoken, I think I spoke a bit imperfectly there, but I think what he's trying to say is that if you grant the possibility of such a situation, that falsifies physicalism.
How so?
Saying the possibility is all he needs.
How so? Because it doesn't at all.
Well, I might be mischaracterizing him. Is that right, Jack? That physicalism is false just in virtue of the possibility of
Because what physically would distinguish that?
Realistic nihilism. Shut the fuck up, dude. Jesus Christ.
Jack, what is the answer?
Who the fuck are you?
I wanted to hear what Josh was going to say.
How could you distinguish those two worlds, the world that we're in and that world?
Just for clarity of example, what was the example again? We have all the physical facts the same, and then what is the thing that we're saying differs in the example, Jack?
Quadition and audition.
Is it whether quadition is being performed correctly or addition incorrectly?
or vice versa.
Okay, sure. So you're saying that simply the possibility of the physical facts being identical and it being either the case that quaddition is being performed correctly or addition incorrectly, the fact of just that it's possible for the physical to be the same and for there to be nonetheless a difference between like two possible worlds with respect to whether quaddition or addition is being done, that's sufficient to falsify physicalism. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Right. So TJump, he wants you to actually, actually show it's not possible logically.
No. I can grant it's possible. It just does not negate physicalism. Like the fact it's possible for there to be an idealistic thing does not negate physicalism because it's possible it's not the case. It would only negate physicalism if it was necessarily the case that that there are two identical physical systems that can be.
This will be the last thing I'll say for a bit, but I think what Jack wants to say, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that if the physical facts are the same on physicalism, it's actually logically impossible that there could be any kind of difference left over about whether quaddition or addition is being done.
Right. I grant that, but that doesn't mean it is the case. It is possible that is the case. That does not mean it is the case. Like, I don't understand what you guys don't understand about this. So it's possible there is a unicorn in a universe. That does not mean there is a unicorn in this universe. It's possible.
He's saying on physicalism, it's logically impossible, right, Jack?
Right. No, I grant that.
But I just want to know if that's what he's saying. Or you're saying on physicalism, it's logically impossible, right, Jack?
It's logically impossible that what?
That two physical systems are identical.
We have two possible worlds with identical physical facts and a difference about.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if it's logically impossible on physicalism, then if you grant that it's possible, you're saying physicalism is false.
No, again, so you've made the same mistake again. I can grant it's possible that there are two physical systems that cannot be interpreted or that can be interpreted in multiple ways. I can grant that's true about a different universe that isn't this universe.
This guy thinks that he thinks that
no, you have no idea what I'm saying. So again,
realist, nihilist, shut the fuck up, bro.
He thinks that his philosophy of mind is contingent, right?
No, so again, this is not a necessity. It's not necessarily true of all possible worlds. Is it logically possible? Yes, it is a possibility. Possibility means it can happen in certain cases. It does not mean it necessarily happens in all cases. So unless you can show in this universe, in reality, that there is a particular physical system that all the physical facts are the same and it can be interpreted in two different ways, then you can't say that it's true. It doesn't negate physicalism. All it does is say it's possible there is a different universe. Unless you can show that is the case in this universe, it doesn't negate physicalism.
So just to be clear, you take the position that it's compatible with physicalism for it to be logically possible that physicalism is false.
No, I'm saying that what you're saying does not entail physicalism is false. What you're saying is, in a universe where this occurs, physicalism is false.
But that's just conceding the argument.
No, again, so the fact it's possible there is a universe, or there is possible there is a unicorn. Does that entail there is a unicorn in this universe? No. So I can grant the possibility that, yes, if there is a physical system like you described, yes, that would invalidate physicalism. I can grant that possibility. That does not invalidate physicalism in this universe. I can grant the possibility of a unicorn in another universe. Definitely. It's not a logical contradiction. Does that invalidate the hypothesis of a unicornness in this universe? No. So you would have to actually show that it is the case that the physical facts in this universe can be interpreted in two different ways without being determined by physical facts. If you cannot demonstrate that, then it does not invalidate physicalism.
Whether unicorns exist or not is a contingent fact.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Possibility. You said possibility. If you're saying it's necessarily the case, that's a different argument. Contingent and possibility the same, necessary is the other one.
But
yeah, but
well, it seems like it's logically impossible on physicalism to have the same physical facts and some kind of different additional fact.
Right, and I can grant that and say that is not the case for our universe.
Sorry, if you say, though, TJump, if you say that on physicalism, it's actually logically. I'm just going to refer to that situation where the physical facts are identical, and there's still nonetheless.
Oh, no, it's not logically impossible. Under
I'll
physicalism, it's not logically impossible. It's just you can't do it with just physical stuff. So I'm not saying it's logically impossible.
That's where you're differing with Jack, right? He thinks that on physicalism it's logically impossible. So when you grant that it's possible, you're giving up physicalism.
No, again. So I'm saying it's logically possible to do this, but it isn't the case in a physicalist universe, and we are in a physicalist universe. So physicalists don't say it's logically impossible for this to occur. That's not the argument. They say it just doesn't occur. So no one in physicalism says this is logically impossible. That is not the thing. That is not the argument. We're not arguing it's logically impossible.
The point is that they have to be conceptually different, right? If the idea is that what the dualist
We're saying
is
they're the
trying
same.
to do...
We're saying they're the same. So that's not. There is no difference here.
One second. I wasn't finished. What the dualist is trying to show is that they're not conceptually identical, such that they can be divorced. They're divorced concepts, right? And what the physicalist wants to say is that they're identical concepts, such that where you have
when did I say that?
But you don't think.
Get out of the way real quick. You there? Can you hear me? So you want to say that physicalism is a contingent thesis,
no,
which is insane, by the way.
I mean, physicalism isn't necessary, so yes, I guess it's not like necessarily.
Yeah, so
the
it's
case
a
that
contingent thesis. Oh, but I wanted to object to that because I'm a moron. Yeah. So you want to say that so you wanted to say that physicalism is a contingent thesis. But then you just have to ask yourself that in the case where there is a possible world that where the physical facts don't determine the mental facts, and in the case where there's the world that which you presume is the actual world for no justification whatsoever, where the physical facts do determine the mental facts, what's the difference between the possible worlds? Right? And you can't just appeal to a normative virtue.
The physical facts determine it, and the other one, the physical facts don't determine it. Like in one, there is a physical fact that determines it. There is a different physical fact.
There we go! The normative virtue, just what I fucking said! Exactly as I fucking predicted, you fucking moron.
You idiot. I've already addressed this. Like, there is a physical difference. In a universe where physical facts are determined by physical facts, that universe, the difference is going to be physical. What it means to be physicalism. Is it possible that there is a different universe that doesn't have physical facts or is not determined by physicalism? Yes. Does that make a difference? No. Like, your argument is fucking stupid as shit.
You're just so dumb. It's like the worst case.
You're an idiot.
Case of Dunning-Kruger I've ever seen.
Granting possibility of something does not negate the possibility of the other thing. That's what possibility means, you fucking moron.
Maybe we can get Jack to cover this because this seems like the point of disagreement. Jack, could you maybe like tell TJump why you're saying that on physicalism it's logically impossible to have a situation like the one you described with identical physical facts and some difference still persisting?
Yeah, explain why physicalism isn't a contingent thesis to this idiot.
Fucking idiot. Like, no one in physicalism says that it's necessary that everything is physical. No one says that, you fucking moron.
Whoa, why don't you cite that? Where's the evidence for that claim?
Literally just anything that references physicalism. Like, no one says it must be physical. No one says it's impossible for there to be anything other than physical. You're such a fucking idiot.
Do you think that there are philosophers who think that, like, take a functionalist, right? Which is a paradigmatic example of physicalism, right? Take a functionalist. You think that they believe that their thesis is contingently true?
The fuck are you talking about? They don't believe it's necessary. Fucking idiot. They don't say, oh, this is the only logical possibility. No, they do not fucking say that. You fucking
demonstrate
moron.
that claim. Demonstrate
Go
that claim.
Ask any philosopher or any physicalist ever.
Any philosopher.
You fucking moron. It's fucking simple. Is it possible there is a God?
Just Google it,
yes.
bro.
Is it possible there is
Way
a soul?
to fucking support
yes.
your claim, you fucking idiot.
Anyone, you fucking moron. Anyone is going to grant the possibility of a non-physical thing, you fucking moron. Every scientist grants that. Every philosopher grants that. It's not a logical contradiction, you dumbass.
Is that your source?
It's kind of like
Google.
Funny to have to actually go here, but like, again, like I'm just want to ask the same thing. Like, Jack, he's the confusion is he seems to think that you can Tom's view is that physicalism doesn't actually entail that non-physical things are impossible.
That's correct. It does not entail they're impossible. It just says they're not the case. Not necessarily
Talking about
false.
physicalism, physical things. We're talking about mentality being physical.
Yes, you fucking moron. So it's
sorry.
all the
Was that to
brains-
me, Josh? Did I say something off there?
I was just saying that you could say that there are non-physical things and not be a physicalist about mentality, right? That's the whole point. Physicalism is a thesis about mentality.
Okay, I thought we were talking about the view that only physical things exist.
In the universe, yeah. That's the view we're talking about.
Discussion is about physicalism, not materialism. You can be a Platonist and a physicalist.
Canadian Catholic, can you please mute him and keep him muted?
Well, let's just
mute Venus.
That guy's fine. Like, why
Oh,
would you
I
mute
didn't
that
know
guy?
that was Venus.
Yeah, don't mute Venus.
Wait, Sasha's Venus?
No, I'm Venus.
I mean, it just seems like if you say they're identical, and then you can show that they're possibly not identical, then they're not identical.
What are you even saying? So again, I don't understand what you guys are understanding about this. It's really, really simple. Like everyone in my chat gets it like perfectly well. So it's possible idealism is true in a universe. Yes, that is possible. And in that universe, physicalism is impossible. Physicalism can't be in that universe because there's a non-physical thing. Yes. But there's no evidence that that is the case in our universe. So
TJump,
this
can I ask you a
example you're
question?
using, no, in this example you're using where you say, if we have a physical system that can have some other fact there that is not a physical fact causing it to determine between two different addition and quaddition, yes, that universe is an idealistic universe. Granted, is there any reason to believe our universe has that property? No.
I took your view to be that mental states are identical to some physical state.
Yes.
What
Everything
could
in our
be a
universe is
reason to
physical.
Right, and if
believe
it's
that?
the idea that
Hold on,
they're
Danny, hold on. What could be a reason to believe that? Just tell me what
Believe
you think could be a reason to believe that.
Believe what?
That you said there's no reason to believe. That there's a mental fact of the matter, but no physical difference. What could be a reason to believe that?
What do you? I'm saying that we have no reason to believe in anything other than physical facts in this universe.
Yeah, what could be a reason?
Testable predictions about mental facts. Like you say, if I believe mental facts are true, I'm going to predict the lottery numbers 10 straight times in a row. You get it right. That's reason to believe in mental facts.
Why couldn't that be physical?
It could be physical, but it would be evidence for mentalism because you made the testable predictions. You get the credit. You don't need to invalidate all the alternatives for it to be evidence of one hypothesis. That's not how evidence works.
I just wanted to ask TJump, like, what you mean by physical?
Matter and motion, matter and energy, and nothing else.
But what I was saying is, if you think mental events are identical to certain physical events,
Yeah,
but
matter
then we
and
can
motion.
show you a world where they're distinguished, right? Where there's no mental event, but you have the same physical event, then how can we say that they're identical concepts?
Well, I can grant that they're not physical in a different universe. I'm happy to grant that. I'm not saying it's logically necessary that mental events are physical. It is possible that they're not physical. I grant that.
Okay, well, that means that they can't be identical.
No, this has nothing to do with the analogy. I'd say they would be different in a different universe, yes. So if they're in a non-physical universe, they have a non-physical thing.
Right, but if I can have, look, if you're saying that mental event A or mental state A is identical to physical state A, right? And there can be physical state A without mental state A, right? Then that means that they're conceptually different.
They can be different. That doesn't mean they are different.
I really think the confusion here is obvious. Like, what has to be cleared up is whether it's logically possible on physicalism to have that kind of situation Jack described, where you have two possible worlds that are physically identical but differ in some other respect.
TJump, do you mind if I say something real quick?
Sure, go for
it. Wait a second. Let's just keep it on the topic and try to pass it back to Jack, who is actually here to debate with, right?
Well, I just want to say one thing that it's on the line of what you just asked. I think if TJump is granting that in some other universe that it's true that the physical facts undetermine something that he's committed that there's actually a fact of the matter about, and what he means by physicalism in that universe is the same thing that he means by physicalism in this universe.
No, I'm saying
then it seems
physicalism
the
is
relation should hold.
is false in that universe. Physicalism would be false in that universe. It would have.
I think we're just getting more complicated than we need to. I think that what's tripping TJump out is, and I think he'll even agree with me. Like TJump thinks that it's possible to have, or let's just put it this way, right? The disagreement is about whether it's logically possible for physicalism to be true and to have the kind of situation Jack described.
No. It's if physicalism is true and there is only physical things, then what Jack describes cannot be the case.
Okay, well, that sounds a little different. You're saying that if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for there to be two possible worlds with the same physical facts and some differing additional property?
If physicalism is true and there is nothing but physical forces, then there is no idealism, no other set of systems. So yes, in that case, there would be no two ways to interpret the same set of data, essentially.
Okay, wait. So if physicalism is true, then that is logically impossible, right?
No. So if physicalism is true, that cannot occur. But to say it's logically impossible means it can't occur regardless of whether or not physicalism is true.
Okay. So wait. So one second. So you're not. Well, 1 second. So you're not actually saying. Let's just be clear, because this is like the whole thing that seems to be the center of the disagreement, right? We want to understand if, given that physicalism is true, it's logically impossible to have the kind of situation Jack described.
Yeah, if physicalism is true, then every system will be determined by some physical difference. Quaddition and addition will have a physical difference.
Right. So you understand that if we say that if physicalism is true, it's logically impossible for there to be such a situation, and then you agree that such a situation is possible, then physicalism is false.
No,
so
that's where the distinction is. It's like if physicalism is true, then this is contingently false. It's not logically false, not necessarily false. So if physicalism is true, then this statement, that's the confusion you're making, is you keep jumping to this necessity of saying if physicalism is true, then it is necessarily the case that this statement is false. That's not the case. It's like if I said, if the Christian God exists, then it's necessarily the case that Zeus does not exist. That's false. The Christian God exists and Zeus can exist. There's no contradiction between those things.
I think there was multiple ifs in my sentence, so it might have led to confusion. I'm saying if we grant this, okay? If we grant that if physicalism is true, that kind of situation is logically impossible.
No, that's stop right there. That's where I object. No. If physical,
I know that's where you object. That's what I've been trying to say for like minutes now, right? Just follow me for a sec, TJ.
Right.
If we were to say that's the case, okay, we grant that for a second. We say if physicalism is true, then it's logically impossible to have.
No, I'm saying that's wrong. I'm saying it's not logically impossible.
I know you are. I know you're saying it's not logically impossible. I'm trying to show you what Jack is doing. So for a second,
go for it.
Assume that's the case, okay? So if we were to grant, I don't think this is your view. I'm saying if we were to grant this, okay, if we were to grant that if physicalism is true, then the situation Jack described is impossible, then he can just modus tollens you, right? He can say, when you grant that situation is possible, you're saying physicalism is false. You understand that if all those things were said, that follows, right?
If physicalism says it's logically impossible and it happens, then obviously physicalism would be false. Yes.
Okay, and the disagreement then is just about that first premise, whether it's logically impossible on physicalism to have the kind of situation Jack described.
Correct. It's not logically impossible.
Right.
That's the thing I've said
many
times.
Let's pass it to Jack, and you can tell us why, in your view, it's logically impossible to have that kind of situation if physicalism is true.
Well, the point is that what the point of the rule following consideration is showing is that whatever physical fact you appeal to, there's no actual logical bar to appealing to the same physical fact to attribute the same physical facts to establish that it was the deviant rule that was being followed, right? And so if that's actually logically possible, right, that just shows that the physical facts underdetermine the normative fact.
And you can do that in any logically possible world.
No, again, because that only applies if that is the case. If that is not the case, then it doesn't apply. So if there is a universe where that does not occur, then that can be perfectly fine to be a physicalist universe. So unless you can give an example of a physical system that can be interpreted in two different ways, equally with no physical difference, then I can reject that hypothesis. It is not necessarily the case. It's possibly the case.
That it's possible, you're just conceding the argument.
No, again, because possibility isn't necessity. I can grant there is a unicorn is possible in a universe. That does not mean I am granting a unicorn exists in our universe. It is possible to have a physical system that can be interpreted in two different ways, but I'm saying that does not occur in our universe.
Jack, he doesn't understand why physicalism is physicalism about mentality is a necessary thesis, right? Like he doesn't understand that.
No, I understand it perfectly. I'm just saying you're wrong. You're full of shit. Again, physicalism does not entail
that it's necessary.
Physicalism does not entail that what you said is logically impossible. No one in physicalism claims that. It is logically possible to have that and to have a non-physicalist system exist. It is logically possible for idealism to be true.
I mean, wouldn't physical endeavors about it then just be purely empirical?
So dumb.
Empirical has nothing to do with logical possibility.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, if this was the case, then, like, what would be the point of making any sort of argument for physicalism as people have attempted to? Like, wouldn't you just go on
if this was the case, then yeah, we probably count that as evidence for
like,
idealism.
why give conceptual arguments then? Like, I just don't see the point in it.
What?
Josh, is this right? Like, if TJump, if he's saying that there can be a physically identical world where the physical facts underdetermine the mental facts, that world is physically identical to this one. Therefore, if the physical facts underdetermine mental facts in that world, they underdetermine in this world because the world.
No. I'm not saying that. Not at all. So I'm saying there are two different worlds. One is physical. One is idealistic. One is all nothing but matter and motion. One has idealistic stuff in it also. And in the idealistic universe, what you're saying is occurring. So you have a physical system in an idealistic universe where they're exactly the same and they're interpreted by separate facts. And in our universe, that isn't the case. In our universe, there is always going to be a physical difference between quadition and audition. In the idealistic universe, there's not. They're going to be physically the same with an idealistic difference. Our universe, it's always going to be the same. Or always going to be different.
What's the difference except X hypothesis?
What?
Yeah, why couldn't there be a physically identical world to this one where the physical facts underdetermine?
No, again, possibility, I can grant possibility does not mean this world is the case.
Yeah, everyone seems to be.
If you're saying it's possible, then you're saying that there's a physically identical world to this one.
No, possibility doesn't entail necessity. I'm not like an ontolmodal realist where I think possible worlds actually exist. Possibility just means doesn't entail a logical contradiction. It does not mean it actually is the case. Unicorns do not entail a logical contradiction. They don't exist. So just like your analogy is a unicorn, it doesn't exist. There is no such case in reality that has those properties. Is it possible that there could be? Yes. Is there one? No. Possible there's unicorns. Is there one? No.
It seems obvious what the problem is here. It seems like Jack's made this argument that's going to show Tom's view is false if it's possible to have the kind of situation Jack described. But Tom doesn't agree that that situation being possible would make physicalism false.
Right, because his argument doesn't...
Like, I mean,
but what you're not understanding is that it was laid out perfectly. When Mikolash laid it out, he said you have two physically identical worlds. In one case, the physical is underdetermined by the mental, and presumably in this case, which he can't cite any reason for, it's not underdetermined by the mental, right? It's completely determined physically.
No, that has nothing to do with like anything I said. I already covered that. Like, there's two universes. These are two separate analogies. It's not the same analogy anymore. We're saying that there's one universe which is purely physical, where there are physical differences. It's a physicalist universe. And is it possible there's another universe that has idealistic things in it that can determine it in a different way? Yes. There's a difference there. One of them has idealism in it. There's no problem.
But TJump, are you saying that in TJump? Sorry, are you saying that in both universes? Are you saying that in both universes they are physically identical?
No, this is not a comparison between the two universes. That's not the point. The point is to say
they have to be physically identical.
No, they don't, because you're not understanding the analogy. That's not. I'm not making an analogy between these two universes like that. I'm saying, is it possible for idealism to be true? Yes, there could be a universe with idealism. Is it possible for physicalism to be true? Yes, there could be a universe with just physical things. Both of these universes could exist. There's no problem there. And
okay,
this thing you're describing, the analogy being described.
And then there's another world with physical and non-physical things. So that means that both of the worlds are the same with respect to their physical properties, but one world has non-physical properties as well. So what Josh is saying is actually true. They are the same with respect to their physical property.
They can be, but again, that's irrelevant to anything I said. So they can be the same, but that's not relevant at all to anything I said. So again, my only argument here is that when you say, is it possible for there to be a physical system that can be interpreted as quaddition or addition? Yes, that is possible in an idealistic universe. Yes, there is no logical contradiction there. Does that negate physicalism? No, because it does not prove we're in an idealistic universe. It's really simple.
You're just the dumbest human alive.
You're a fucking moron. Like, why are you still talking?
Do you have
an objection to anything I said? No, you're just full of shit. Shut up.
Yeah, I did. I pointed out the objection that you can't
point out anything.
You can't point to anything other than a normative virtue that differentiates the two possible worlds in question. But you're too stupid to know what any of that is.
I didn't say there was a difference except for idealism. I said that's not a comparison between the two universes, you fucking moron. That's not the point.
But TJump, you're saying that in one universe, it's possible that there's some sort of idealism that's true.
Sure.
And then, right? That's what you said.
Sure. Idealism can be true. It's definitely possible.
It's just what needs to just be cleared up is if physicalism is false in virtue of that possibility. That is what's, like I've tried to say this like 20 times. That is what's tripping TJump up. Okay, well, it's not clear to...
It's not tripping me up. It's just simply false. It is not the case. That is,
wait,
it is not
no, 1 second. When I say tripping you up, I'm not even saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that's the stumbling block with the argument. That's the thing that's not going through.
No, I understand what you're saying. It's just false. It is not the case. It is false to say that it is.
I'm not even making a claim about. I'm not even making a claim about which way it is. Whether
not you. I'm saying the argument itself to say that physicalism makes it logically impossible for there to be two systems that can be interpreted in multiple different ways is false. Physicalism does not entail that logical possibility and logical necessity that is false. No, it can still be possible. Physicalism does not entail that it's logically impossible that God exists. Like physicalism just says it is not the case that God exists. It does not mean it's logically impossible.
Let me just do it like this with you, bullet points. You grant that idealism is logically possible, right? And what you don't grant is that if it's logically possible, then physicalism is false, right?
Yes.
That's what's tripping them up. Someone just needs to clear that up if they believe they can.
Thank you for saying that for the 10th time, Isaac. You're so succinct, dude.
Yeah, I am saying it for a reason, and I'm saying it succinctly because it's obviously what he's hung up on. If you disagree, you're just being dumb. That's clearly what's
No, we all agree.
Here.
We all agree, but you just seemingly have to keep repeating it.
Obviously not.
Well, then maybe someone should like just really address that and clear that up, because I'm seeing a ton of people move on to later phases in the conversation without clearing up this fundamental thing. Right?
Yeah,
he'll agree with Jack's conclusion if it can just be established in TJump's mind that if physicalism is true, it's logically impossible for.
Well, what do you think the point of what I was saying was doing? Right?
I'm just saying that's what needs to. I'm just saying that's what needs to be clarified to T. Okay, well,
that's what I was trying to clarify. Yeah, so I said that you can have two physically identical universes, which is this what he granted, and one in which idealism is true and one in which it's false, right? And there's nothing different about the two worlds besides the thing in question that's supposed to be justifying whether or not physicalism is true, right? If that's true, how does TJump know that we're in one universe rather than the other? What would be the difference? Because no physical facts would be any different, right? So it's just like, what the fuck is he talking about? So obviously he can't appeal to the physical facts.
You fucking moron. Like, you don't understand anything we're even talking about. So again, if there's an idealistic universe, the difference is going to be it has an idealistic thing in it. If there's an idealistic universe, it has an idealistic thing in it.
The difference is that there's a difference, Isaac. How about that? The difference is that there's a difference, Isaac.
You're not understanding anything of even the topic.
1 second. Why are you addressing me? I'm not sorry. I'm not talking right now.
He did the same thing to me when I asked him what makes it that this mental state is identical to a neurological or brain state.
But sorry, I heard Josh just addressing me for a whole chunk of time there. I'm not even talking. That was all TJump.
Yeah, but the reason I was addressing you is because I'm telling you, we're not going to get an answer to that question.
No, because you're not even addressing. You're full of shit. Like, let Jack talk, because you have no idea what you're talking about.
That he can't appeal to anything. That he can't appeal to anything other than a normative virtue that separates.
No, you fucking idiot. That has nothing to do with the argument. You have your head up your ass. If there's a physical universe and an idealistic universe,
normative principle.
The difference is the idealistic universe has idealistic things in it.
It's a problem that I think the problem might be that Josh doesn't realize how stupid TJump is, right? He doesn't realize
Regardless,
that he's
shut up.
conceding
You're
to
an
the
idiot.
argument when he says that it's possible in this world.
No.
Is it possible in this world? If physicalism is true, is it logically possible in this world?
Logically possible means not possible in any worlds.
Could I ask something?
Is it, look, I know what a possible world is, but is it possible by definition in this world that physicalism is true if it's a non-physical fact, if there exists non-physical fact?
No, if there's a non-physical fact in this world, then physicalism is false, obviously.
Yeah,
Can I just ask something?
But that does not entail that there is a non-physical fact. If there's not a non-physical fact, then guess what? Physicalism is true.
Wait, TJump, you said that there is some possible world that is physically identical to this one, but in which physicalism is false, right?
Sure.
Yeah, so I think what Josh is trying to ask you is, how would you know by just appealing to evidence whether you are
you wouldn't. This is
in
not an
that
epistemological
world
argument.
or this world?
No, you wouldn't. Again, this is not an epistemological argument, as Jack said multiple times. How you know doesn't make a damn bit of difference.
No, but you kept saying appeal to the evidence.
Right, so I'm saying evidentially, if we have reason to believe there is such a thing as a fact that can be interpreted both ways and not by the physical system, then that would be a good reason for idealism. We don't. We only have physical facts.
What makes physicalism is true is that physicalism.
But if that's
no, the evidence is what makes physicalism true. We only have reason to believe in physical things. It doesn't prove anything.
Right, but
inductive.
But the evidence couldn't establish whether you are in that world or this world, where physicalism is true, or whether you're just in a world.
You don't need absolute certainty, so that's not relevant.
Well, then you're not getting possibility. Do you understand that?
No, I am. I fully understand possibility. You're just full of shit. Let Jack speak again. So, Jack, again, there is nothing in physicalism that says that it's impossible for there to be a physical system that can be interpreted two different ways. That is not something physicalism says ever.
I wanted to ask a question.
I mean, if you can't appeal to physical evidence to determine whether you're in this world or in that world where physicalism is true,
anytime you say determine,
what can you appeal to? What can you appeal to say physical?
Fallibilism. Again, you don't need absolute certainty to prove things. That's just fallibilism.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. You can be a fallibilist, but what would you appeal to?
You can appeal to lots of different things. Future testable predictions.
Like
if I make a prediction and it's true, that's good evidence
that's
for whatever
all going.
hypothesis.
Yeah, but those are going to be empirically equivalent in both worlds.
Doesn't make a difference. Makes no difference at all. They don't have to be non-empirically equivalent. There's always empirically equivalent theories. It's the problem of determination. That does not make it not evidence. So again,
I think there's like a logical.
If that's no, the point is you're going to have the same predictions in both worlds.
Doesn't make a difference. Again, you don't need absolute certainty. So you're just talking about fallibilism.
That's fine. This has nothing to do with certainty. I'm just asking you.
What would you appeal to? You do not need to be able to differentiate between hypotheses. There are always going to be empirically equivalent hypotheses. That is not a problem that is solved in fallibilism. Not a problem. So I don't need to be able to tell the difference. That's not the point.
Yeah, you're just saying you can never be justified in believing in physicalism.
No, wrong. Again, you do not need absolute certainty. So just shut up, please, Jack.
You don't need to be. You don't need to be certain.
Yes, you do. Based on what you're saying, you're asking for absolute certainty.
I'm not talking about certainty.
Yes, you are, because you're saying. Stop. Shut up. You're saying you need to be able to differentiate between hypotheses. No, you fucking don't. You do not need to be able to have one evidence that invalidates the alternative. That is false. You do not.
You're just saying you're unjustified in believing in physicalism then.
No, that's not all I'm saying. You're just full of shit. So go back to Jack.
Yeah, this guy is retarded.
Shut up, idiot. Jack, go back and explain. Shut up. No, I'm done with that. Jack, explain how in physicalism it's logically impossible for there to be a physical system that can be interpreted in two different ways.
Well, I mean, the point is that if you're granting that it's logically possible to appeal to the same physical facts in support of both attributions, then you're just conceding the underdetermination.
Yeah, the problem of underdetermination is a real thing in all of science. I can grant that, but how does that logically necessitate that physicalism is false?
Philosophy of science.
You cut out. You cut out. I couldn't hear you. You said philosophy.
Talking about
You're still cutting out.
Sorry, I'm not talking about underdetermination with respect to two scientific theories, right? I'm saying that the very same physical fact, if you concede that the very same physical facts, right, that are supposed to be what grounds the attribution of one of the intention to follow one rule, right? If those very same facts can be appealed to ground the attribution of the intention to follow the opposite, the other rule, where the agent is performing that rule incorrectly, then you're just conceding that the physical facts underdetermine the facts about the rules, the fact as to which rule is being followed.
Yes, in this hypothetical
And that's
you've made
just
up, that does not logically necessitate physicalism is false. That's just this hypothetical world that you've made up. This is the case.
No, but you're conceding that that's true in this world by saying that there's no logical bar, because you're granting that there's no logical bar to appealing
No. I'm saying
to the same...
I don't know of one. I'm not saying there isn't one. I'm saying there is a logical bar. It's going to be some physical fact we don't know of. I don't know what the physical fact is. There is in this universe going to be a bar.
I don't think you understand what I mean by a logical bar.
Okay, what do you mean by a
logical bar? The point is there's actual logical... What I mean is there's no logical contradiction involved in appealing to the same set of physical facts.
I can grant that. There's no logical contradiction in unicorns that doesn't negate a non-unicorn universe. So how does that negate logically that physicalism is false?
Because the point is that what the underdetermination thesis is, right, is the thesis that the physical facts underdetermine the normative facts.
Right, so that's the claim. The claim is that in our universe, the physical facts underdetermine the normative facts. That is the claim, is that in our universe, this is the case. So unless you can demonstrate that that is the case in our universe, I can just claim there are other physical facts we haven't discovered yet which do determine it.
This idiot doesn't realize he just conceded.
Would you shut up, Jack? Go on. Go ahead, respond.
You see, the rule following argument is an argument about all possible worlds.
Okay.
Right? It's basically saying that in every possible world, you can always appeal to the same physical facts, right?
Right.
To attribute either one rule being followed by the agent or the other rule being followed by the agent incorrectly.
Right, and I'm saying that is false. That is not the case. It is not the case that that is true. There is, in the physical universe where it's just purely physical, it will be determined by physical forces. I'm saying that that assumption that this applies to all possible worlds is false.
But you're not showing the logical bar to do.
The logical bar, because I don't know what the logical bar is. It's whatever the physical difference is. Whatever the physical difference is between quaddition and oddition, that's going to be the logical bar. Do I know what that is? No, because we just made these concepts up. In a physical universe where there is quaddition and there is oddition, the difference is going to be physical. It's going to be a physical difference. There's lots of different kinds of physical differences that can distinguish between these two things, but there's going to be one of them that does in a physical universe.
Yeah, but again, I don't think you're understanding what I mean by a logical.
Then what do you mean by a logical bar? I've asked you that like 3 times. So again, I'm saying that if there is a universe where there's quaddition and oddition, there is going to be a physical difference. And whatever that physical difference is, that is the bar. So what do you mean by bar? How does that not mean
by logical bar? I mean, there's something in virtue of which it would entail a contradiction to adduce the same physical facts in support of the other rule.
No. So again, I don't need a logical contradiction. I don't need the case. You're like asking me what is the logical contradiction in a unicorn existing. I don't need a logical contradiction in a unicorn existing. It's not logically contradictory. Why is it logically impossible for this to be the case under physicalism? You're just asserting that you want a law that proves it's not. I don't need that. You hold the burden of proof here. You have to show that it's logically impossible for this to be the case under physicalism, and you haven't.
I think you touched on something interesting, which was possible worlds thing. Can you elaborate on that, Jason?
Who's this guy?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
So you're claiming,
you said
you're
the laws
claiming,
of physics could apply differently in other worlds.
Yeah, there could be one universe where gravity is, or one possible world where gravity is 10 times stronger, and one possible world where gravity is 10 times weaker, one possible universe with a god, one possible universe without a god, one possible universe with a unicorn, one without a unicorn. Possible worlds just means all the logical possible ways that worlds could possibly be. So, Jack, you're making the argument that this argument you've presented logically applies to all possible worlds. I'm saying that's false.
Could those two worlds about the gravity...
Stop. So
could those two worlds about the gravity be physically...
irrelevant to the fucking conversation. Remember, I also said there's a universe with a god in it. So don't fucking ask questions about that. So, Jack, you're saying that your argument is logically necessary in all possible worlds. How? Because I'm saying it's not. I'm saying no, it's not necessarily the case in all possible worlds, that there is a case where there is a physical system that can be interpreted in two different ways with no physical difference. I'm saying that is not logically necessary. There is no logical contradiction in a physical system existing and being determined purely by the physical system. There's no logical contradiction in
that. The idea...
Oh, shit, what?
You cut out again. You said the idea and then stopped talking. Jack, you still there?
Hope we didn't fall down on his...
I got disconnected.
Okay, you back?
The idea is that... Yeah, sorry. The idea is that... that if it's possible to have the same identical... If it's possible to have the identical physical facts and still have a difference with respect to the normative facts, that the underdetermination thesis is true. Because the underdetermination thesis is a thesis about possibility.
Right, so I can grant that's possible in a possible universe, but how does it entail that is true about our universe?
But if the underdetermination thesis is true, that just entails that physicalism is false.
No. For the underdetermination thesis to be true, there needs to be a physical system that can be interpreted in two different ways that isn't determined by physical differences. Unless you can prove that is the case, then it isn't true. It's only possible.
That's what you granted, you idiot.
No. The possibility does not prove necessity, you idiot. Possible unicorns exist does not prove unicorns exist. So again, you have to show, shut up. So Jack, you have to show how exactly the possibility that there could be an idealistic universe proves necessity that physicalism is false. Because you haven't done that. You've just said it's possible there is an idealistic universe. Yes, there is. Does that prove physicalism false? No. It does not prove this universe has that property. You've listed a property. You've said this is a property that applies to all possible worlds. And I'm saying no, that property does not exist in this universe. It can exist in other universes. It doesn't exist in this one.
It means that...
You're cutting out. I can't hear you.
It means that there's like a fundamental incongruity between the physical facts and the normative facts.
Only if it's true. Only if it is the case that there is a set of physical facts that can be interpreted in two different ways. If there is a set of physical facts that can be interpreted two different ways, then there is an incongruity. If it is not the case that there is a set of physical facts that can be interpreted in two different ways, then there is no incongruity.
You've granted that there can be the same physical facts.
Can be, yes.
And different normative facts.
Can be is the case. There can be unicorns does not prove there is unicorns. You're making the same argument that the same mistake Plantinga does with his argument from modal ontology, modal ontological argument that from possibility equals necessity. Not the case. It is possible to have an idealistic universe. It is not necessarily the case that all universes have this property you're describing.
Whether unicorns exist or not is a contingent thesis.
Right, I'm saying so is yours.
The underdetermination thesis is an essence.
No, I'm saying that's false. I'm saying that's just a bald assertion. I'm saying it is definitely a contingent thesis.
But you've conceded the argument.
No, I've conceded it's possible. I have not ever conceded it's necessary. I've not ever conceded that at all.
Yeah, but if you concede that it's possible for the physical facts to be identical and for the normative facts to differ, you're just conceding the underdetermination thesis.
No, I'm conceding that it's possible in some universes. I never under any circumstances conceded it was necessary, which means I never under any circumstances conceded it applied to our universe. If it's possible does not equate to necessity, ever.
I hate it when Jack is like good cop, because it's like this guy.
Would you stop talking, Jack? Jack, what is your response? So again, I still like it's possible unicorns exist does not entail unicorns exist in every possible universe. Your principle is possible. It is contingently possible. There's nothing about your principle that is necessary. It's only a contingent principle that applies to some. Stop talking. It's only a contingent principle that applies to some possible universes, not all possible universes.
Is it possible?
No, Jack, I'm done talking to you guys. You guys are all idiots. Jack, what is your response?
And in the
stop, Jack.
That world is identical.
Doesn't matter. This is not a point. Jack, what is the response?
Well, it just seems like you're not understanding what the underdetermination thesis is.
No, I understand it. I just think it's begging the question. I don't give a shit. So if it's only contingently possible, you asserting that it's necessary is just garbage. I don't care if you assert it's necessary. It's not. It's contingent. It is contingently possible that there is a physical system that can be interpreted two different ways by a different non-physical fact. Is it necessary in all universes? No, obviously not.
I don't know what you mean by obviously not.
It's like saying, is it logically impossible for there to be an apple? No, there can be an apple. Is it logically impossible for there to be a universe without unicorns? No, it's clearly logically possible. Is it logically possible that all the physical facts are determined by other physical facts? Yes.
The difference is the difference, Jack. Don't you know the difference?
There's no fucking difference. Stop talking. So, Jack, do you see the point? There is no logical contradiction in a universe existing. Stop talking. Stop talking. So, Jack, there is no logical contradiction. Stop talking. So, Jack, there is no.
Do you have to stop talking? I'm not sure.
Would you shut up? Holy shit, you idiots. So, again, there is no logical contradiction in a universe existing, which is purely physical. It does not have two interpretations. Every possible interpretation is just determined by a physical thing. There is no logical contradiction in that. It is logically possible.
I think your view has a contradiction, though.
I don't care what you think. Jack.
Yeah, I mean, if you say that, I mean, the point is, right, that you don't have you aren't able to point to some logical obstacle, right?
No, I've already granted the possibility. That does not help you at all, because possibility does not entail necessity. So if you grant the possibility, is it possible to have a physical system that is purely physical and every interpretation is determined by the physical things in it?
But if I can appeal to the same physical facts to attribute the
right, no, I granted that part of the argument. Is it logically possible for there to be a physical system where you can't do that?
But TJump, it's logically impossible for there to be a world where one
stop talking.
is physical and one is non-physical.
Stop talking. I'm done with you. Jack, is it logically possible for there to be a physical system which is only interpretation is purely determined by its physical processes, physical parts? Is that logically possible?
Are you asking, is it logically possible for the physical facts to not underdetermine the normative?
No, is it possible for there to be a physical universe with one electron and no normative facts at all? Stop talking, Jack. So is it possible, is it logically possible for there to be a universe with just an electron, no normative facts, just purely an electron, no physical... Stop talking, holy shit. So is it possible, is it possible, Is it possible for there to be a physical universe with nothing but an electron, no normative facts at all? Is that logically possible?
Sorry, it broke up for me. So,
is it possible?
Question...
Is it logically possible for a universe which is purely physical and is only like a single electron, nothing but an electron, no normative facts at all? Is that logically possible?
Yeah, but that's irrelevant.
That proves that it isn't necessarily the case that your case exists in all possible universes. That proves you wrong. So if it's possible for this universe to exist...
all possible universes in which there are normative facts.
So it's possible there are universes which are purely physical.
Yeah, that's not the problem.
Wait, no, remember. So again, you're saying if physicalism is true, then it is logically impossible for it to be the case that there is a physical system that can be interpreted in two different ways. If you grant it's logically possible for there to be a physical system of a universe with one electron that doesn't have this problem, then it isn't logically impossible.
Sorry, that broke up for me. Yeah, the issue is that if there are normative facts, right, in every possible world in which there are normative facts, the physical facts will underdetermine them.
No. So that part I reject. So just stick with the universe with one electron. There's a universe with one electron. It's purely physical, no normative facts in it. Is it logically contradictory for that universe to exist?
Yeah, but that's irrelevant.
No, that's exactly my point, because you keep arguing that under physicalism, it is logically impossible for your description to be the case. Like, for that to be the case, that means there can be no possible world. Stop talking.
Yeah, but
stop talking. Stop talking. Stop.
Let me just explain this really quick.
Stop. So your argument entails, stop. I'm not going to listen to you. Stop. So your argument, stop.
We should listen to smarter people.
Stop. Again, so Jack, your argument entails that all possible worlds cannot ever have this be the case. It is logically impossible in all possible worlds that there is a physical system that cannot be interpreted in two different ways. Stop. So if it is not logically impossible, then it is only possibly the case, not necessarily the case. That means that physicalism does not entail that it is logically impossible for there to be a physical system that cannot be interpreted, it can be interpreted two different ways. That proves your argument wrong. It is not logically impossible under physicalism.
What the conclusion of the argument is that in every possible world in which there are normative facts, those normative facts will be underdetermined by the physical facts.
Right, I'm saying that's false. They're all going to be determined by physical facts. Like, you have not presented a single normative claim that can't be determined by a physical fact.
Well, you conceded the point, though.
No, again, I've proven you false. I can grant its possibility without granting its necessity. It is possible there is a universe where normative facts are non-physical. It is possible there's a universe where there's nothing but physical facts. We can be in either one. That's how possibility works.
But there's no logical bar.
No, I've already covered that. The logical bar is the physical difference. If you're in a universe with idealism, there's going to be some idealistic new non-physical property. If in a universe with just physical things, it's going to be determined by the physical thing. There is always going to be a difference, by definition.
Yeah, Jack, the difference is the difference. Don't you know the difference?
No, idiot. Again, that does not fucking help your case. So, again, if it's logically possible, to have a universe, stop. If it's logically possible to have a universe with nothing but physical facts, just an electron, that proves your argument wrong, because it can't be necessarily the case that your principle applies to all possible worlds. It is not the case. So since there can be a world which is purely physical, we can conclude that we could be in one of those worlds that is purely physical, and our normative claims are also determined by the electron, by the physical properties. There's no logical contradiction there, because we know it's possible for a purely physical universe to exist.
Do you drive?
Why are you talking?
I just want to know.
Why are you
there
talking?
Was like a
Stop
wall,
talking.
If you would just run straight into that.
I don't care what you have to say.
It just seems like there's no reason.
Could you like? Damn it, Canadian Catholic, mute these trolls. Fucking useless idiots.
Canadian Catholic, mute the fucking trolls.
So, Jack, do you understand the point? Is that if you are claiming that it is a logical necessity that your principle is true in all possible worlds, and I can give a single possible world where it's not the case, and that means that my hypothesis of physicalism doesn't invalidate yours. It's not a logical contradiction between the two. They can both exist in two different universes at the same time and both be coherent. One does not apply to all possible worlds. One does not negate the other.
How long is Jack going to spin his wheels? This ass.
Why are you still talking? You're just a fucking idiot. Go get a high school education. Go get a job.
Jack, how long are you going to spin?
Why are you still talking? Jack, do you understand the difference? If I can show it's logically possible for just a physical universe to exist without your principle, then your principle isn't necessary in all possible worlds. So it's not necessarily the case. Why are you still talking? Why are you still talking?
Stop talking.
Why are you still talking?
Say the same thing.
Why are you still talking? Jack. So again, all I've heard is that it's possible that this is the case. That's easy. That means nothing. Doesn't mean it's necessarily the case. It can be possible that other things are the case, and that defeats your argument.
But he already said that it was a
Physical
contingent
facts.
fact. Like the idea that an electron, it's possible that there's only a world in which there's an electron, or it's possible that there's a unicorn. These are contingent facts. But there's worlds in which, there are bachelors that are unmarried, but that's going to be true in every world in which there's a bachelor, right?
Right, that's the argument. That his argument is not necessary. His argument is a contingent fact.
You're just the dumbest human in existence.
You're a fucking moron. Stop talking. Again,
I think
we can show that that's the case, because if there's a universe with an electron, then his statement doesn't follow. There is a physical universe with just purely physical systems that could be interpreted different ways, and it's all purely physical. Nothing non-physical about it.
You don't understand the argument, buddy.
But if you're forwarding another world in which has all the same physical facts,
I didn't say anything about the same physical facts. Did not say that at all. I said if there is a universe with an electron, and that's it, and it's purely determined by physical facts, no interpretation. There's no interpretation there at all. If there is no
right,
logical
but he already said that was possible.
Right,
but he
that
already
means
explained
that proves him false.
Fact.
That proves him false, because he's arguing his principle isn't just contingently true, it's necessarily true, which means it would have to be true in this universe with the electron. If it's not, then his principle doesn't apply.
Why are we debating about what Jack would say when Jack is just here? Let's just let Jack talk to TJump.
Do you mind if, the problem is you're talking about universes where you're talking about universes where you're assessing physicalism versus idealism. The universe you described with just one electron isn't one of those universes, so that's
you idiot. That wasn't the point of the argument. So again, the point of the argument is to prove it's not logically necessary. His principle is not logically necessary.
I don't think so. Let me.
I don't want to hear anything you have to say. You guys are all fucking morons.
Let me try to explain this. Right?
No.
I haven't talked to you. I haven't talked to you yet. So, but look, what he's saying is logically necessary is not that in every world in which there are physical objects, there are normative objects or normative properties, right? What he's saying is that when you bring up the thing about there being an electron or whatever, right? He's saying he's willing to grant that that's possible insofar as you agree that that world is such that there aren't normative properties, right? His point is that if you want to say that there are physical objects, right, and there are normative properties, those normative properties are going to be underdetermined by the physical properties, right? Now, if there's worlds in which there's physical properties, but there's no normative properties, he's saying, he's agreeing that that's possible, but that's not what he's saying is necessary. He's saying if there are worlds in which there are physical and normative properties, then the normative properties will be underdetermined by the physical properties.
Right, and I'm saying he's begging the question, assuming that's the case, because he has presented no normative facts that can't be determined by physical systems. His argument has nothing to do with that. It's just simply saying if there is a physical system that can be interpreted in two different ways, assuming normative, then that disproves physicalism. So I can say there is no such system in this world. Is it possible? Yes. Is it in this world? No. So again, that fails completely, because if there is possible for a universe with an electron without this case, then all the things, including the normative things, could be built on by just electrons. The normative claims could be determined by electrons, and then we just have a universe of physicalism without this property. So if there is a universe with just a single electron that can exist without this property, and we can just keep adding electrons to get the universe we have now, we can get the entire universe without this property he's describing.
Phyllis, the problem that you're having is that, you know, he's trying to show that bachelors are unmarried men.
No, you fucking moron. Nothing you said. There's no. Stop. So again, there's no logical contradiction in anything I just said. There is no logical contradiction in a universe with normative claims and just being electrons existing. That is not a logical contradiction, proving his statement false.
He's not saying.
Yes, he is. That's exactly what he's saying. He's saying that it's not logically possible for there to be a universe with normative claims that is just physical. That is his argument. He's arguing that is logically impossible. I'm saying, nope, it's purely logically possible.
Well, but if that's what you're saying, then you're just begging the question.
No, saying something is logically possible isn't begging the question, you moron.
No. I'm saying you're begging the question against
his argument. You're a fucking moron.
I'm saying you're begging the question against his argument. That's what his argument is doing.
No, again, it's not. His argument is begging the question because it's assuming that that is necessarily the case in all possible worlds, which is not the case.
But that's why I made the distinction, right, that I did earlier, right? He's saying there's a world in which it's possible that there's just an electron, right?
I already just repeated everything you just said. Is it possible for there to be a universe with normative claims that is purely physical? His answer is no. His answer is that is a logical impossibility. I'm saying obviously fucking not. That's stupid. It is definitely logically possible, and I described how it's logically possible.
Well, wait, how is it logically possible?
Just like with the brain example where I described how two brain states can be talking about the math things, the algebra, arithmetic, or whatever the other one was, the Q one. It's possible because the physical determination doesn't come from that particular brain set. It comes from a different change in somewhere else in the system. It's still determined by someone else in the system.
By asserting it. That's how he showed it, by asserting it, Phyllis. What don't you get?
Yeah, you're a fucking moron. That's how logical possibility works. If I can assert it, I'm not in contradiction. It's possible, dumbass. Yeah, that's a logical possibility. Good job, dumbass. So again, there is no logical contradiction in a universe with normative claims existing that is purely physical. That is not a logical contradiction, proving his argument false. Game over.
TJump.
I have a question for Josh. How long have you been doing this?
2.5 hours. I'm starting to get bored. Can somebody go in for the kill so can we end it? Come on.
I crushed all you guys. You guys are fucking morons. This is a really obvious example that just proves
will
you wrong.
Finish it off?
So I'm about to finish it off right now because you guys just got destroyed for like 3 hours because you're fucking morons. It's obviously the case. There is no logical contradiction. There's no logical contradiction in a world existing that is purely physical and has normative claims. Perfectly fine. No logical contradiction there whatsoever. So again, that proves his argument false because his argument entails that that would be a logical contradiction, and it's not. Thank you, and good night.